Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning from wherever you are, and welcome to Fridays. The world's gone insane. Let's talk. Yes, it's a mouthful of a name, but it's much more punchier than something punny. Anyway, that being said, you know the drill. This is an open forum where anyone in the comments can give us any subject they wish for us to cover. Out to the stream. And
All
I'm
right,
back.
all right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great. Well
wonderful.
done, Melona.
Goddamn
What
bloody
the hell
melon.
happened?
Melon's melon's a melon, man.
Yeah, it's the melons to melon up, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, joining me are my fellow skinheads, Zam and Shredder lives on. I, of course, am Sexual Terry's Chocolate Orange. And let's just start with the show. And as always, we start with the politics stuff because we like to get it out of the way as much as we enjoy covering it as well. And we are going with very juicy drama in the world of the far right. They seem to be beating each other up as much as the left were just a few years ago, and now it seems that the far right have turned the guns on each other. That being said, we have some juicy divorce drama with the world's favorite closeted man and possible closeted trans wannabe, Stephen Crowder, announced on his show that he is divorced from his wife. And it basically has an argument. It kind of brings it up because of Candice Owen. He insinuates that Candice Owen from is it Praga U?
The Daily Wire.
Daily Wire, thank you. From the Daily Wire, kind of sniped at him in some kind of commentary, and so he thought the best thing to do is to air his personal drama online, and that nobody's gonna go and pick up on it or talk about it. Anyway, so as standard, he's now there's nothing wrong with that. You know, he talks about his wife filing for divorce. However, the twist comes and the hilarity comes. Well, it's hilarious when you first kind of see it, but then, as we'll reveal later, it takes a bit of a dark turn. But he's complaining that his wife has the choice and is allowed to just leave and to divorce the husband. You know, that Texas allows for this to happen. Like he's bitter that his wife could make her own personal choice.
Well, at least Texas actually has some decent laws when it comes to, women's rights.
For now.
Expect that to change. And
Yeah,
be
for
to the
now.
forefront.
For
You
now.
know, Greg Abbott, and Ted Cruz are on that.
Yeah, they're all trying to roll back the times to puritanical eras. Not even the good old days. It's past the good old days. It's going back to Britain in the kind of feudal Britain era. Anyway, so we all had a good laugh, and Candice always kind of clapped back, and we was all having a good laugh. However, today there was video released of Crowder and his wife in the back garden, and it basically just showed what a manipulative, emotionally abusive piece of shit he is, which is very standard, sadly, among the right wing contingent of humanity. And before I ramble on any further, Shredder, would you like to chime in on the events that transpired with Mr. Crowder?
Okay, well, first of all, let's set the record straight. Crowder is not yet divorced from his wife. She did file for a divorce in December 2021. The divorce settlement is still ongoing. Now, my initial thought was that, okay, well, Stephen Crowder probably because he's Mr. Traditional Gender Role, and he has routinely said, I believe, that he was going to take a back seat and let her do all the work when it came to raising their kids. Again, the divorce filing was 2021. I think it's about 3, 4, maybe 5 months after the birth of their first children. I thought that might have been what pushed her over the edge, and she decided to just walk away. But as you've mentioned, a video was released of it was a doorbell camera, I believe it was.
Yes.
Where there was audio
Ringo.
as well. Yes.
Ring camera.
Now the video, I have since found out it was actually released by Hillary Crowder.
Her family, her and her family.
Her and her family released it. Now the reason they released it is because they had wanted to keep the divorce private. This had been ongoing. They wanted to keep the divorce private. There had been according to Hillary Crowder, a lot of emotional and mental abuse going on, and a lot of controlling and manipulation by Steven Crowder. And it was because he brought it up on his show, that was when they decided enough was enough. And that's when the video was released. Because Crowder was saying, there was no fault in the divorce. The fault was mine. I picked wrong.
Yeah.
And,
oh, God.
Again, blaming the wife.
Right. And he made sure to say that my kids were completely blameless in this. Now, the video was absolutely horrific. I don't know if anyone has seen it. I know Zam initially did question when you brought it to our attention, Penny. He questioned why she didn't have a car of her own, and I think that was mainly because of manipulation and controlling behavior.
I kind of gathered that
in a lot of cases that with abusive partners, this does go on. Boris Johnson, for example, our former prime minister. There was a book written about him by Tom Bauer, and they explored the relationship he had with his father and his mother. And his mother made clear that Boris Johnson's father, Stanley, made sure she wasn't allowed a car of her own. She wasn't allowed contact with her friends. He was very, very controlling and abusive towards her. And I think that might be what has been going on with Crowder. Well, it's quite evident this is probably what's been going on. And the tape that has been released, Steven Crowder has admitted that this tape stops just short of him saying to Hillary, "I am going to fuck you up."
Yep.
So,
yeah,
I hope she.
While she's 8 months pregnant.
Yeah.
While she's
I hope
pregnant.
she takes him to the fucking cleaners for this.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. I thought, regardless of her political views, it's about just not being a piece of shit human being. And I really hope that she bleeds him dry, alimony up the wazoo, child support up the wazoo. He's going to be wishing he signed that 50 million deal with the Daily Wire now.
Oh yeah,
because she is going to bleed him dry, and I hope could have happened to a nicer person.
And the thing is as well, Crowder is not going to be able to claim that she married him for the money, because when I believe it was they had been together, they'd been dating for 2 years before they got married, and when they first got together, he was making less than $100,000 a year. He wasn't making the millions and millions of dollars that he does today.
Hey, Vance.
So they're not going to be able to argue in court that she literally just married him for the money.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so she'll definitely get a nice sizable chunk of what they earned while they were together. And given that he insists on traditional family roles of her not working and staying at home and looking after the kids and all of that, someone's going to have to look after those kids, and that's going to take a lot of money. And that's what he has for now. Until
he was smoking a fucking cigar right in front of her face.
Fucking cigar and telling her to handle a chemical that is harmless to pregnant women, harmless to babies.
Oh yes, it was the dog medication, wasn't it?
Yeah, the dog medication and all this. It's just this kind of horrible attitude of I'm just not going to do anything. I'm just going to be a human piece of shit. Hey, Gary, and do nothing.
Gary.
And sadly, a lot of people kind of see this behavior as heroic, as something to look up to. And it's to the point you made earlier on Facebook as well, is that, yelling at these kind of young people that are very impressionable and kind of seeing this kind of stuff as a normal way to treat women is just not the right approach. You do need to educate them when they're young. You need... from all sides, it needs to come from both parents. Well, it depends on the fucking parents, But at schools, I definitely think there are a lot of life skills that do need to be taught at school. This is one of them. I mean, again, Shredder, if you want to talk about with Andrew Tate now being used as an example.
Well, yeah, certain schools in I don't know what the equivalent would be in English schools. In Scotland, it was a class generally called personal social education.
I agree, by the way.
Yes,
we all do. Yeah, we all agree with that sentiment. But in Scotland, we had a class in high school. It was called personal social education. I don't know what the equivalent would be in English schools, at the high school level at least.
I don't think they have anything
where you learn sex education, things like that.
Right. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. When I was at school, we didn't have any of that.
Right. Okay. Well, there are classes for like that across both Scottish and English schools. I know some schools now in those classes are showing Andrew Tate videos, and it is to educate young boys on, what you do not do when it comes to the way you and treat women, other girls in your class, older women, etc. It's basically to educate them. This is not acceptable behavior in society. This is not something you should be aspiring to be. And I think I'm quite glad this is going on in a controlled classroom environment, where it can actually be thoroughly discussed by an adult, somebody with full mental faculties, and it's not just unfiltered and just brought to you over and over again on a stream of TikTok, which is how Andrew Tate got famous for the most part. Yes, people cutting up his clips, and you would get a 30, 45-second clip of him on TikTok where he might say something that makes sense, like be something about, I don't know, go to the gym to improve yourself. But it would then be followed by 10, 15 clips of just rampant, blatant misogyny. So I'm glad that this is being done now in a controlled environment where the context of what he says is being discussed and it is fully being explored, and young people are getting the story, and they're getting the fact that, well, no, this is not how you behave in society. This is not how you behave towards, again, the women, the young girls in your class. This is not how you behave to older women that you may know at home. And in some cases, I think I would like that to happen as well with certain aspects of Steven Crowder. I mean, why does anybody aspire to be like someone like Crowder, who thinks that, he's being all tough and macho by, wearing a gun holster the whole time? I mean, when you watch his podcast,
he's racist as fuck.
He's got, oh yeah, he's a racist piece of shit. I'm surprised he's not been yanked off YouTube, because he's got video of himself on Yellowface still up on YouTube. He's still got a video of him mocking the murder of George Floyd. I don't know if you guys recall when Christopher Hitchens.
I remember it.
Yeah, when Christopher Hitchens, for anyone who doesn't know, when Christopher Hitchens initially wrote that waterboarding wasn't torture, it was enhanced interrogation, he decided to put his money where his mouth was, and he actually was waterboarded. And it completely changed his opinion. He was fully of the opinion that, no, waterboarding is torture. It's not simulated drowning, it's actual drowning.
Yeah.
So he did a complete 180 and was completely against it. Crowder tried to do something similar, where he laid down in the same position that supposedly George Floyd was in, and he had several of his buddies dressed as cops, and including putting their knee in his back. But Crowder was in complete control of the situation, to the point where he's even telling one of his friends, "Hey, ease up on your knee. Ease up on my shoulder." It's like, well,
yeah, you're kind of proving the point.
That. Yeah, you're proving the point that this actually did happen.
Yeah, but the problem is people like that, they're backed themselves into a corner where intellectually, where intellectual dishonesty is just their grift, and they just, no matter what happens, they have to stick to the grift. I mean, again, we're going to talk about Carlson in a minute, but Carlson did the same thing. He loathed and despised Trump and all his followers, but he maintained the line, maintained the grift on Fox News, because that's where their viewers were at. That's what their fans were at. So if they did any anti-Trump rhetoric, they'll just lose viewers, and it will backfire on them immensely. And this is the the same thing we have with people like Crowder and people like Andrew Tate and things like that. Though Andrew Tate is just a special piece of shit, because he's also, for all the kind of crimes that he's committed, sex trafficking, rape, allegedly, all this kind of stuff. It just puts him on a level where it's just, you can't even look at the kind of piss take stuff that he does and think, oh, so lighthearted, because there's that dark cloud of shittiness that hangs over him. So Daniel Vances would typically have nothing like that in the US. It's too structured. Oh, that's general health class, but I honestly don't know if can even talk about sex anymore in that regard. No, it just goes state to state.
I would love to hear from an American high school student to what is going on, with general health classes in America nowadays, because obviously, I'm in my 30s. I don't know how old you are, Penny, but
43.
Okay, well, yeah. So a lot of us haven't been in high school for 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
So
longer.
We don't have up to date experience, and particularly all four of us currently in the chat room are, well, let's be honest, we're British. I'm a Scot.
Yeah.
We've got 3 Englishmen here.
We
have absolutely
this guy. It's
exactly.
4 Brits, mate. 4
Brits and a Scot walk into.
You need 3 Englishmen and a Scotsman. Goddamn Americans.
3 Englishmen.
Yeah, 3 Englishmen and a Scot walk into.
Not 3 Brits. All fucking Brits.
We don't really have first-hand experience of the US education system. That again, we do have some Americans involved in Nerdtube, but they've probably been out of the public school system for probably about the same amount of time we have.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Middle-aged fuckers.
On that, and I'm not dragging anyone into this. I'm just saying. So a good perspective would be to talk to like Jason's kids, because they're at school and they don't have to come on camera and talk about it, but behind the scenes you can kind of ask Cheeto, you can ask your kids kind of if they discuss these kind of like sex ed topics or social topics and things like that at their schools. I know Ohio's a bit of a backwater state.
Want to know if they do gun safety, like regarding shooters and stuff. And I'm not taking the piss.
They do gun safety drills, and they still do gun safety
drills
in elementary schools. And I can tell you that one.
Yeah, Gary, don't worry. You can put your hand down after you.
Because, but again, there are people I know in America whose kids have been through it. They've done the safety drills of what you're supposed to do if there's an active shooter.
Well, I mean, the thing that just blows my mind is that people like Stephen Crowder and Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles are actually allowed to talk to like college-age kids about the stuff that they believe. I mean, the thing is this, because you'd be like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a right-wing politician like, I don't know, somebody off like GB News or something going to speak to
Katie Hopkins. There's a good one.
Katie Hopkins, yeah, exactly, like something like that, or
but Katie
like
Hopkins
Kelly G. Keane be able to talk to.
Well, Katie Hopkins did try to speak to a bunch of students, but what they did is as soon as she started to speak, they all got up and left.
Well, that was at one event. I know she's attended others, but there's other places where right-wing speakers get invited to speak to either high school kids or kids in college or university. So, Rod, there was a controversy here a couple of years ago where I think it was Durham University. They had a Christmas dinner, and Rod Liddell was invited for some bizarre reason without the knowledge of the students.
Yeah.
And they were all quite disgusted when he got up and started talking about penises when they were trying to have Christmas dinner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Another one.
There are two things. One second. There are two things that are going. I know for a fact that are going on at universities now, and that is obviously there is a huge push from the right trying to get in there to try to, propagandize kids who are, naturally a lot more left wing minded because of they know everything's going on. They're plunged into debt and they're not happy about it. So you get the crybabies on the right that are complaining about the woke students. So they're trying to infiltrate and trying to get speakers in as much as possible. And also you have the Israeli lobbies as well, trying to silence student voices when it comes to criticizing Israel and its and their defense of Palestinian people. And again, it's a tale as old as time. Students are naturally more progressive, and the establishment or people on the right don't like that, so they do everything to kind of either shut down dissent or try to propagandize and brainwash minors, basically, is what I like to call it. Yeah.
We have Rick B here saying GB News is all right if you watch it. It does present both sides, even though it is so far
No,
right. It's more right leaning than fucking the
absolutely not.
teaser.
No, it's not remotely
Yeah.
center right. It is as far right as anything goes. They do not present both sides. You think they present both sides? That's because you don't know both sides of the argument, and you already come from it from a very biased perspective. So what you think is both sides of the argument is actually their side of the argument and a slightly less right-wing side of the argument, if that. But from all the shit we've seen, they don't present both sides of the argument. Shredder,
I mean,
anything you want to say on that?
Gammon Box just recently gave a very softball interview to Andrew Bridgen. Now, for once, the Tory party, it seems, have actually had some standards in that they've expelled Andrew Bridgen. For anyone who doesn't know, Bridgen was suspended because he put out a tweet effectively saying that COVID-19 vaccinations were a new Holocaust, which he subsequently deleted. He's got no qualification in cardiology, but he's claiming that the COVID-19 vaccination causes heart problems, something that was rebuked by the British Heart Foundation. And he's recently, just as recently as March, he put out a tweet where he claimed that the COVID-19 virus originated from a US military base. So
it did. I was there. I'm the one that spread the virus. Sorry about that.
Damn you, Panny.
But, sorry, guys. There's a military base in Shropshire.
But the right wing, they sure love losing that Holocaust shit, don't they? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they love it.
Bridgen was finally expelled outright from the Conservative Party. He's, no longer a member. He will never be invited back in. He's still an MP. He'll sit there as an independent between now and whenever the next general election is. But he went on GB News and he said that, if I've saved one life, that was worth it. This is not the Tory party I recognize. Well, bull fucking shit. This is definitely the Tory party that you recognize. It used to be in the old days. They did kick out nutters like him.
Yeah.
Nutters like him generally went to UKIP or the BNP.
Got another comment here from Rick B. If you want to take this one, Penny.
God.
From Navarra Media to GB News to Lotus and Lotus.
Lotus Eaters. That's bloody Carl of a Card's show.
Oh, is it? Good God.
Yeah, that's as far right as you can get.
Carl of a Card? You mean Sargon of a Card?
Yeah, Sargon. Carl Benjamin, okay. Sargon of a Card.
Yeah.
Sargon of a Card's not left wing at all, dude.
That's what I'm saying. He's as far right as you can get.
Yeah. I mean, Navarra are very left wing, but at least they're open about it. Unlike the other ones that try to kind of skewer their biases to no avail. I mean, we're not fucking stupid.
What's the way they frame things? That they'll get somebody from the left on, but they'll talk over them. They'll interrupt them or talk over them a lot. Like the Prime one, I think not too long ago they did a whole thing about the recent thing with Dylan Mulvaney and the night card that she did, and the two people on the right. Yeah, on the right-hand side, totally talked over the guy on the left, who's actually making some good points, which is what's wrong with representation.
But that's the tactic. The tactic is you throw in some. Go on, Shredder, you talk.
Well, I'm saying if you want a more recent example of them trying to bring on somebody for to try and skew the far left as being the left wing as being loonies or woke, as they put it. Just look up the interview that Marina Purkis did with Jacob Rees-Mogg. Jacob Rees-Mogg on his show brought Marina Purkis on. Now, she wiped the floor with him. She had an answer for every one of his talking points. And when she brought up the fact that Jacob Rees-Mogg is always talking about deregulation, which means rolling back people's workers' rights. That's when he immediately cut off the interview, said, I'm sorry, but that's all the time we've got, and just tried to shut it down.
Yep,
so,
absolutely.
It's all about trying to control the narrative. Ben Shapiro is very, very good at this as well. Well, at least when he goes on the college campuses, he'll ask basic questions to college kids who've maybe not thought a hell of a lot about the subject. But at the same time, another points, he can be a blithering idiot. It's why you've got the clip of H. Bomber guy saying, when he said to a room full of college kids about global warming, well, let's say the water is going to rise 10 feet, maybe 20 feet. and people around the coasts are going to, their houses are going to be flooded. Wouldn't those people just sell their homes and move? And H-Bomber guy, he had that clip that went viral. He says, "Sell them to who, Ben? Fucking Aquaman!"
Oh yeah, I remember that. I just want
remember that.
I just want to respond to Rick B here again. But I've got a couple of things I want to say to him. Like you mentioned earlier regarding Lotus Eaters and Novera Media, but I just want to say that these people are coming in as guests. Most of their hosts, if not most, all of their hosts are right wingers. From Andrew Neil all the way downwards. But he also said, "I'm saying I watch everything from left to right politically, and GB News isn't far right."
It is far right
compared to what? Stormfront?
Yeah.
I mean, like just because you have people on the left on there doesn't mean they're not trying to own them and discredit them in front of their own people. And also, Rick B says you have to admit the Bud Light thing was a massive own goal. It was a massive own goal for Bud Light in a couple of ways because, first start the right wing response to that was ridiculous because they always go on about freedom, but it's the only freedom they ever want is guns and to be able to be bigoted. When it comes to other companies wanting to have whoever they want to promote their stuff, they have a fucking issue over it if it's someone who's trans. And so they started boycotting Bud Light by buying it and destroying it, which is fucking stupid, but they're still fucking buying it. But the owners of Bud Light, they ended up firing the executive marketer who brought in Dylan Mulvaney to promote their stuff. So now people on the left are catching up on that, and they themselves don't want to buy Bud Light. So Bud Light have shot themselves in the foot from both the right and the left because neither side are going to buy their shit because of all the controversy going on regarding this particular product. So
I mean, it doesn't help that Anheuser-Busch also donate money to the Republican Party.
Yeah.
So
Anheuser-Busch, that's the person. They're the ones who buy their marketers.
Yeah.
But on the subject of GB News, I mean, you'd want to say, well, it's not all that right wing. Neil Oliver has invited on literal white nationalists to give softball interviews talking about, the declining birth rates of white people. I mean, he has invited on Jack Buckby, an actual neo-Nazi.
Oh, the neo-Nazi, yeah.
And if you want, another example, he's also invited on Peter Sweden.
Good God.
And Rick, he's also brought on that is on that program quite a lot.
You're breaking up.
You're breaking up, Gary. We can't hear you.
No, we'll come back to you, mate.
We can't hear you, Gary.
We'll come back to you. You're broken. Oh, there you go. You're back. Got to try again.
Every time he talks, that bandwidth just goes down.
Oh, bless him. Oh, that's all right. But
connections bottling like Arsenal.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I saw. Like in my borough, we have like wonderful breweries, and I saw like the Arsenal and Spurs team kind of working there the other day because that's what they're good for. It's good to hear from all perspectives, left and right. Not really. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. I want to catch on this one. The right wing perspective is as old as time. There's nothing new. In my 40 years on this planet, I've heard nothing new from the right wing perspective. I know we always say it's good to hear from both sides, but the side of the right, it's just the same shit over and over again. It's the same shit. And on the left, they keep saying to you, well, no, this is wrong because this, and this. And on the right, it's just like, how can I be a big piece of shit today? And you're just tired of hearing from them because they don't offer anything intellectual. It's just the only thing I ever want to hear from right wingers is, stuff
big
to do
issue,
with business and
issue.
all of that. And the big issue, yeah.
That's what I'd like to hear from the big issue, sir. Big issue.
Well, look, I mean, the right wing have been regarding the Tories have been in power in this country for over a decade, and yet somehow the narrative can still be that they're not too bad regarding how right wing politicians and right wing media display them in front of their audiences, and also at the same time they're always blaming fucking foreigners for everything. Or they're not blaming Brexit, something that they've implied. All of these things that they go on about, it's always somebody else's fault and not their own.
Yeah,
they're never owning up for the fuck ups that they have done to this country.
It's narcissism 101. You implement policies and laws that completely fuck over the less fortunate, but you never take responsibility for it, and you blame the less fortunate for causing these problems. I mean, Lee Anderson openly admit that the only thing that they've got to offer in the next run up to the next election is to go on a war against immigrants and the woke culture.
Yeah.
That's it.
Culture wars, transgender people. That's what they're going to fight the next election on. To put it as succinctly as possible, I mean, the left's attitude is we want to make sure everybody's means are provided for. We want everybody to have fair and equitable rights. The right wing says we want the rich to get as rich as possible. We want to deport all brown and black people. We want gay people converted. We want the poor locked up. Centrists are saying, I can't tell the difference between you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, centrists are more useless than the bloody right wing. So right wing, you know where they stand, but centrists, they just get in the fucking way of progress.
And I just want to see the countries, parts of the world that are under right-wing governments. You can see how ruined. I mean, would it be states within America or countries themselves, they got right-wing governments, how ruined they are because their policies are initially about shitting on immigrants and going back to conservative values. But when it comes to the actual roles of governing, they fuck up. Look at Florida right now under Ron DeSantis. He's so busy going after gays, the wokes, and all of that shit that Fort Lauderdale is under fucking water, and he's too busy going around fucking campaigning to be president of the United States. He doesn't want to deal with the fucking mess that's on his doorstep. When it comes to actual governing for the right wing, they just haven't got a fucking clue, and things always fuck up. Just right now as we speak, under the right-wing government, look at the United Kingdom under the Tories for 13 years. It's just, the whole country's falling apart. They ain't got a fucking clue, mate.
Right.
Gary,
Rick B, I'm getting the point that you might be a bit centrist, mate. Right? This is the problem.
Centrist,
sounds.
I'm just reading these comments. Sorry.
No, if you want to be right-wing, that's absolutely fine. We're just giving you the facts. Sorry, go on, Gary.
No, I'm just reading what Rick B's put in. And the problem is that the left wing aren't collecting victim points. What we're pointing out is that the policies of the right wing conservative government is having real life effects on people. Like there's people who can't afford to feed themselves. That ain't a victim point. That's real life. There's people who can't afford to heat themselves or to have running electricity. That is a victim point. That's real life. I'd like you to tell me where's the image problem in that.
And I just want to also add,
it probably comes from like a handful of like over the top, like narcissistic left wing Americans who kind of have that weird victim mentality. But overall, no, you're absolutely spot on.
But he also says that the left wing have a PR image of just complaining and collecting victim points. Well, no, the left has actually got a fairly good track record of trying to put forward policy ideas. I mean, again, everybody shits on Jeremy Corbyn, but his manifesto had a lot of very popular policy positions. He wanted public transport to be nationalized. He wanted, he wanted an amnesty for immigrants.
Yep, and also on that, I'd just like to say, when I gave Corbyn's manifesto to so my sister-in-law's friend, he works for the Bank of England. He is an economist at the highest level. And I gave him the manifesto because you could be within the system, but you're still getting your news fed to you by, the people that control the narrative. So I give him the manifesto. I said, can you show me where the holes are in this manifesto, in these policies? He goes, nope. He goes, every economist agrees that this is solid, and that's the problem. Because it benefits everyone, and that's the system nobody wants. Nobody wants that. Okay, you have to understand the system is designed to benefit. How is it we're the ones that are getting poorer and the rich have not lost their fortune? They've gotten exponentially richer, and more of the wealth is getting transferred to a handful of people because it's the policies that they put in place. They cut services, and with those services, they just transfer the money to the rich, Our tax money is just given, like, it's socialism for the rich, capitalism for the poor. When their strikes were going on with the RMT union, the Tories were more than happy to keep the strikes going for as long as possible because, hey, our tax money was still paying the profits to the shareholders. They didn't lose a fucking penny. But everyone that went on strike and those that got affected by the strikes, we're the ones that lost out. But their rich little friends, they didn't lose a fucking penny. So you tell me about the left and the right.
Margaret Thatcher was. You talk about the thing with public services. I mean, Margaret Thatcher was a master of this, and I think David Cameron also did it fairly well to a degree. The strategy was, and pretty much still is, when it comes to the right wing and generally with the Tory party, is that you throttle public service as much as you can, and then you say to the electorate, "Look at how badly this is doing. Let's get rid of it. Let's sell it off
to the NHS right now."
Well,
exactly what we're doing to the
Thatcher.
NHS.
I mean, Margaret Thatcher did that to the rail network. She did that to British Gas. She did it to British Telecom. She did it to so many industries that were just completely privatized under the Conservative Party from her era, which was what 79 to 92. And
91.
Well, no, 79 to 90, because I think it was Major took over in 90, didn't he?
Yes, because she was in for 11 years.
She was in for 11 years. John Major took over in 1990.
Yes.
Major's whole time was spent just trying to clear up some of the messes that she left behind, which included obviously things like the poll tax, because that went down like a fart in church.
Yeah. I'd give my left nut to see riots like the poll tax riots again.
But David Cameron did it with Royal Mail as well. He strangled that service repeatedly to the point, where it was absolutely useless, and then said, "Oh, isn't this terrible? Let's get rid of it."
That was George Osborne that sold that off, wasn't it?
He was the Chancellor that instigated the sale, but Cameron was the Prime Minister. He had the final say on it.
Yeah.
I just want to second what Gary said earlier, and I just want to also add, like, for instance, something like school meals, something which is being brought up in this country as well as in the US. The left have been pushing school meals. This is a no-brainer, I think, for both the left and the right. Kids get school meals for free. Our tax money goes into feed kids because we should. But people are struggling right now, and having one of the meals for free for kids is very beneficial for society generally. Yet the right are arguing against that. The pro-life motherfuckers are arguing against kids getting fed. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous.
And they're throwing a fucking tantrum about it.
Sorry, but just to clarify, guys, what is the policy for free school meals when it comes to England?
Well, all I know. I mean, look. All I know is that you had people. Like
is it you have to be? Is it you have to be below a certain level of the poverty line to claim it?
Yes.
Right. Because I know in Scotland we've pushed for it to be universal, so every kid qualifies for a free meal no matter what their income level is.
No, here I think it's means tested. I don't even know. Like, some places they don't even offer it. I get confused with this because they keep going back and forth with it, and in the end it comes down to like local boroughs are just the ones that are taking on the costs to kind of offer the free school meals. Or in my borough, for a lot of it, you've got like the Trussell Trust kind of doing that, and like Morrison's offering school meals, and we have like warm places and all this kind of stuff. But
you've got right-wing politicians and media personalities, shitting over people like Marcus Rashford, because let's just face it, the right wing in this country hated seeing a rich black guy giving back to society. He must have pissed them off because this guy came from poverty, so he knows what it's like, and he's a self-made millionaire. And people like Katie Hopkins shitting all over him. This is the person who considers himself to be pro-life and a Christian and shit like that. And here we go, Marcus Rashford doing what most millionaires should be doing, is giving back to fucking society, and he gets crapped on it.
We even had MPs from the party of government telling him he should stick to football.
Thank you, Rick B.
Shut up and dribble, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean,
I'm just going to read some comments 1 second. I'm going to go to Daniel Vance's.
DeSantis can't handle Disney, I suppose. Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, he's all bobbling heading like this. Oh my god, the guy's a fucking twat. I'm definitely
in fairness, Vance, Trump proved anybody can run the country It's just a case of it doesn't have to be competent, but they can run the country. They can still hold the office of president. Any moron can get that office.
Yeah.
I used to be centrist, but was forced left by current events. When a party becomes us versus him, I'd rather be on the side of we the people party. So I'm the same as Vance. So about 2008, 10, around there. No, 2010 when the Tories came in. So at that point, I was more of a centrist. But because I worked in the care industry, like these arseholes, they couldn't wait to slap austerity on everyone. And I saw a lot of my clients have their funding cut. Some of them just lost the services. They lost a lot of money because of it. And it had a terrible knock-on effect. And again, the councils had to kind of pick up the slack so that people didn't lose their services and went isolated and alone. I've seen firsthand abuse by the Tory government on their policies and the effect it's had on the disabled. I too have felt that, the DWP's privatization, what it did to me and all this kind of stuff. And that just pushed me, not left, it pushed me fucking far left.
Were you put through an ATOS assessment?
My clients were put for an ATOS assessment, non-verbal. Right. The non-verbal cognitive difficulties. A lot of them could barely use a toilet and all this kind of stuff. They were forced to go to the job center to take the ATOS assessment. When my legs went, was just forced to kind of go in and get assessed and all that, but they did everything. They kept denying me no matter what. Despite all the evidence, they just kept denying me, and they made it long, and I didn't have the mental health to kind of fight it at the time, so I just left it.
Right, just to clarify for anybody who might be a bit confused what we're talking about, the Department of Work and Pensions put out what was called Fit for Work assessments, and in order to do that, they brought in a private company called Atos. It used to be that you had to go and deal with your doctor. It would be your own personal GP who would say whether or not you were actually fit to be in the workforce. If you had a long-term illness, if you had a severe physical disability, they would sign you off saying, look, this person's not fit for work. Here's why. Atos were brought in, and their work capability assessments were an absolute joke. And I mean, to the point where they put people who were on life support down as being fit for work.
Yep.
They had people who had, had suffered heart attacks while going through the assessments and were still registered as being fit for work. It was absolutely insane. To the point where I think it was something like 84% of everybody who challenged the assessment, the verdict of the assessment, wound up winning on appeal.
That's right.
Yep. I remember that.
It was because Atos that were, their main goal was just to get people off of benefits, and they got rewarded for it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Sadiq Khan is giving all primary schools free meal, but is ruining.
This is your guys' area of expertise.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, yes, he's
spot
on
here. On this as well.
Yeah, he's spot on, and thank you, Rick, for that, because I forgot that Sadiq Khan would offer that, and you're 100% right. He has ruined his reputation. If he didn't do the ULEZ and allow these LTNs to fucking ruin our roads, he would have been a solid mayor. I don't think many people, they wouldn't have been enough from the right to weaponize it against Sadiq Khan, but the ULEZ thing is deeply unpopular with everyone. Even though it only affects 7% of cars in the whole country, it's still just another tax on the poor. And LTNs are another tax on the poor because they're not about environmentalism. Because the trick they do there is they say, look, in these neighborhoods, look, the pollution's gone down, but they're measuring the pollution within the areas where the cars can't get into, but the surrounding areas where the cars are now causing 6 times the amount of traffic that they used to be. They're not measuring that. So it's a huge fucking scam. And I always say you can't implement greener policies within a neoliberal society. It just doesn't work because it always affects the working class. It always affects us. And this is what really fucks me off, especially with this country, is this hatred of cars. It's like, okay, if you hate cars, then you bring public transport into public ownership. You charge a lot less for it. You make it much more desirable to use that than you do your fucking car. And people won't need to use their fucking cars. But no, what do? They milly mound around. Trains, fucking forget about it. Completely unaffordable. You know, that helps pay for the Germans and the French's fucking cheap travel. And buses, if you're outside of London, forget it. Buses are ridiculously expensive. And so where's the incentive? For now, it still costs me less to run my car than it does to just use public transport. So you can't push policies forcing people out of their cars when it's still cheaper to use a car. You make the car too expensive to not. And when I say too expensive to run, I don't mean start jacking up the prices of your petrols and your road tax and your insurances, which has kind of happened. Okay, but you make public transport ridiculously cheap, or if it was in London, I'd personally make it free. Okay, because we generate enough money to fund that shit anyway. And hey presto, look, half the people won't be using their fucking cars. Gary.
I don't know what it's like where you guys are, but in Glasgow they are bringing in low emission zones. I think it's in July, I believe. So that's going to like jack up the price even more for car users. So I don't know. Is it the same in London?
It's the same
Central
thing.
London.
It's the same thing. No, it's expanding to all over London.
Oh yeah, it is expanding, but it's more
the ultra
more...
low emission zones, which again is just a revenue raise for the poor. And I just want to go here to so Rick Beans, I don't know who to vote for. Hang on. I don't want to ignore the comments. I don't know who to vote for, but it's definitely not Labour or the Tories. Yeah, I mean both of them ain't worth a shit. I'm voting Tusk for me personally.
I'm probably going to vote SNP or Green.
Yeah, that's what I would say were the best options if you're in the UK or if you're in London.
Well,
either
if
Tusk
you're in Scotland, your
Green.
best option is SNP or Green. And particularly in my case, because again, I am a Scottish nationalist, and again, I want to make that clear. I want to make that. I hate the fact I have to make that clear that Lucas, my version of nationalism is not it's not like British nationalism, which is what the Conservatives are going for these days. Well, if you're like, the Enoch Powell style of get all the blacks out, that kind of thing, which is what they're doing with this immigration policy.
Yeah,
their immigration policy is designed purely to keep out black and brown people.
That's it.
So, but
Absolutely.
I mean, my view is one of civic nationalism, which is that anybody is welcome to call Scotland their home.
Yeah. Okay. So,
I just want to add regarding Sadiq Khan.
Yeah.
Myself and set up regarding the primary school free food. I actually had no idea about that. That was over my head because I just thought that was more of a universal thing. I didn't know if a mayor of London could do that within his jurisdiction, but the ULEZ thing, as somebody who works as a cab driver around London, it has fucked me over. Not just the ULEZ. I mean, I drive an electric car, so that part is not much of the issue. But the road changes he has made within London is beyond terrible. London's, I mean, we have a congestion charge thing going on, and he's made driving around London a lot harder. He tried to make it more easier for cyclists, even though those fuckers break the law on a regular basis, and they make my job a potential manslaughter charge. But he's not helped. Things have not improved on London roads. We have less lanes to drive on because he sacrificed some of those lanes in these old school parts of London for fucking cyclists. And it's just made it a lot harder, more congestion. London is very trafficky. The whole point of the congestion charge was to ease congestion. But what are you going to do? Like, people need to go into London regardless of a congestion charge. Just by charging them 10, 15 quid or whatever it may be, doesn't mean you're going to stop people from driving into fucking London. They still need to do it because it's their livelihood. So what Sadiq Khan has done as London mayor on these particular things, regardless of him being Labour, I don't give a fuck about that.
That's interesting because I was always under the impression that the cycle lane expansion started under Boris.
Well, it just seems that a lot of the Boris bike started under Boris, that's for sure.
Oh no! They actually started. That's a myth. They started under Livingston.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
probably,
All the
fair enough.
policies were put in place under Livingston. If you ever drove around the borough he was in, it's a fucking nightmare. Brent, you know Brent. You're around the corner from Brent.
Yeah.
You drive around
Yeah.
Brent, it's a bloody nightmare. That was Ken
You got
Livingston's
those fucking poles
constituency.
and shit like that
Yeah,
everywhere,
exactly.
man.
And
I mean, it's annoying.
fucking.
Yeah.
So my biggest gripe with Labour, it has always been, is their absolute disdain for cars, and and other policies kind of were pushed under Boris, but they've just expanded rapidly. Under LTNs were not a thing under Boris. LTNs have been a thing under Sadiq Khan. They're a recent phenomenon, and they are a pain in the ass because if you drive through them, you get a fine. You can't drive through them. If you're visiting someone, tough shit. If you're a delivery driver, tough shit. If you're a cab driver, tough shit. You can't get in there. So you've got to park somewhere and then you've got to walk across and do that. So again, it just derails everything for the poor and the working class. And what annoys me is the cycling policies and all the cyclists and all of that and all these anti-car law are a bunch of fucking middle-class wankers that move into working class areas and they change everything. They change everything to suit them. They have no regard for the people that actually lived in that area, and they're forced out because when they move in, our rent prices go skyrocketing, house prices go skyrocketing, so they're forced further out. But the life that they built for them is in that area, so they have to drive back in to get there, and now they can't anymore. And the shops, say Palmer's Green, for example, on Middleton Road, which the whole surrounding area, apart from Middleton Road, is LTNs. The shops there have suffered immensely. They're closing down. They've lost a lot of business because they can't get there. People forced out. The area's changing.
Can't park anywhere.
You can't park anywhere either.
Can't park anywhere, man.
It's such a short-sighted view. This is what I mean. You can't. The people pushing these policies, they're not nuanced enough. They're just narrow-minded. It's very a right-wing kind of mentality of one thing. I don't understand how everything works. I just want this one thing and the consequences be damned.
You're going, Gary.
I disagree a little bit because the thing is that we do have climate change which we need to address, and I think this is one way we can address it with people not using cars, because I do think that especially most cheap cars are going to be some stuff that hurts the planet. So anything that we can do to stop people doing that. But I do agree with you that it shouldn't affect small businesses or people just basically trading.
Well, the biggest polluter in the world is the US military. Okay. Corporations account for 78% of the world's pollution, and they're not being pushed at all. In fact, they're pushing for policies where they can keep polluting even worse now than what they could before. I mean, if you look at the sewage being dumped in British waterways, we were at
another Tory thing.
Another Tory thing, of course.
Yeah.
And with corporations still being allowed to pollute at record levels, again, the onus and the burden is being pushed on us to make the changes. Now, if you want cars off the road, but cars are still essential, where are the fucking grants to get electric cars? So give us grants to buy electric cars. They've done that kind of stuff in the past. They gave people grants to buy diesel vehicles, which was a massive con perpetuated by Volkswagen and a big scam that happened under the Blair government. Okay, and then they turned around and said, "Oh, actually, diesel's extremely poisonous, so now your diesel car that you bought is going to be rendered useless." I mean, they slapped that on my dad, and we was like, "Fuck!" So we had to flog these van off to Cyprus, and they're not making sensible policy changes. You want cars off the road? I've talked about that before. But if cars are still needed, then push them to go electric and give them grants, because people can't afford it because their rent is too high, their mortgage is through the roof, the cost of food is through the roof. I work at a charity where every day people are calling in and they need food bank vouchers, they need fuel vouchers, that they're going to warm spaces to keep warm because they can't afford to heat their house. They're working 2-3 jobs. They can't afford the rent. The rent is increasing. Landlords are selling up. There is 92% less availability of rental properties in my borough now, and we have one of the biggest housing crises in Enfield. Has the biggest housing crisis in the whole of London because the Tory party pushed everything up here, up north, and
gentrified everything.
Everything. They sold off everyone's council houses in central and inner London, and they pushed everyone here towards Enfield because Barnet won't take half of them because that was a Tory borough.
Too
So
posh.
they pushed everyone into the Enfield borough, and it's effective policy because they all think that the Labour-run council is responsible for all this when they're not, even though they're completely fucking useless. I'm not going to defend them. But we're just seeing mass problems, mass poverty, and within that, you're trying to push for policies that further crush the poor with the green policies. You can't have it. You can't have it both ways.
Before I think we need to do a subject change now, but I just want to read some comments before we go on to the next thing. So Daniel Vaughn says, I trade every meal for what the Japanese get for school meals. Fresh ingredients, changing menu made by professional chefs based on the seasons. And by the way, I fucking love Japanese food. So
that also happens in a lot of the European school systems too.
What's that?
The fresh food,
the fresh food and prepared by actual cooks. That goes on in a lot of the European schools.
Yeah,
fair enough. I don't know.
As well.
I don't know who to vote for, but sorry, my bad.
Yeah, we've
my friend went through their assessment. Total joke.
Zatos, yep. No.
ULED's cameras will change to paper. Taking bets on which candidate picks up Carlson.
This is the next topic we can move on
to. Running mate
Carlson.
Yep, we will talk Carlson.
Yeah. I love driving my Porsche. I'm not swapping it for public transport. I don't blame you, dude. You got a fucking Porsche. All bets are paid out in NFTs. U.S. military burn pits are horrible, and we do it everywhere. Yeah. And finally, mass bike riding is never going to be a thing in the UK because it's too, and the anti-car left wingers surrounding. Mate, I drive in London. It's like the Tour de France at times. You know what I mean? There's I got all these arses going up and down in my face.
The big bike pushers are actually not left wing because left wingers like us are the ones that are screaming for better policies. It's actually the fucking centrists that are pushing the kind of bike policies because they're the ones that are too fucking narrow-minded to see the bigger picture. So I just want to make that clear. Not saying that left wingers aren't pro-cyclists, they are, but they also want better policies in place before things like LTNs and ULEZ is put there. Want it gone, throw it in a burn pit, batteries, plastic, solvents. Yeah, and we've seen a lot of cancer and things like that rise within veterans. And lastly, the war on landlords is a mistake. It raises rents because landlords leave the sector. The war on landlords is a justified war because they don't want to leave. Parasites.
They're just greedy. Yeah, they're not going to go anywhere, dude. Trust me, they want money, but they just have to stop being greedy, like everyone else in this world who's got more money than sense.
Landlords offer nothing to society. They're just greedy parasites. You don't need landlords. Okay, you need more council housing, and if you want to move up in the world, fine, you go out. But absolutely, under no circumstances should any citizen be allowed to rent their property.
We frankly need a social housing policy similar to the one that the Attlee government implemented.
It all makes sense now, Rick.
I'm saying we quite frankly in this country need a social housing policy and a house building policy similar to the Attlee government.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, Clement Attlee was the last fucking good prime minister we ever bloody had in this country. He's the one that built this country after the fucking war. And, everything's just trying to tear it down ever since. And we need we need a post-war policy of rebuilding the country after the capitalists have torn everything down. And I'm going to move on from this. We're going to talk Tucker Carlson. And that's what we're going to cover in news and politics. Then we'll move on to the film and TV.
Okay, since we're talking Tucker Carlson, can everybody make the face that looks like they basically just shit themselves that Carlson does?
We'll use that as a So Tucker Carlson has been fired by. You need landlords and a massive. We don't need landlords, but we do need a massive social housing building program. Anyway, you don't need both. I know. Trust me. I work in a charity that deals with all this. Landlords don't offer anything.
But let's move on. Tucker Carlson.
We'll move on to Tucker Carlson. So Tucker Carlson has been fired from Fox News, unceremoniously dumped after all the Dominion stuff. At least that's what we initially thought. But again, like everything to do with right-wingers, there's always juicy drama that comes out after the fact. And one of those ones that I want to talk about before I move it on to everyone else is that the Mr. Murdoch was the one who personally took charge of his firing. And the one bit I want to talk about is because his ex was a huge fucking fan of his. Massive fan of his. You know, recently he split up with Jerry What's-Her-Tits and
Jerry Hall.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry Hall. And then he got engaged to somebody else and then broke it off after 2 weeks. And apparently she was batshit crazy, religious person who would quote scripture whilst they're trying to eat and all this kind of stuff. And she was a huge Tucker Carlson fan. And so one of the reasons it could be in retaliation to that. However, there's a lot more stuff to it. It's not just that.
94 and he's still alive, man.
I know.
Just die already. Just die already.
How many times has he been married?
About 8.
I think. No,
conservative values, right?
I mean, wasn't Jerry Hall his second wife?
Was it?
I'm not entirely sure, but I thought it was only twice.
I have no idea. So, Shredder, do you want to take this one on all the other stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So Tucker Carlson's firing was related to the Dominion voting systems lawsuit, but not in the way everybody thought. Everybody thought this was either because Fox had a $787 million settlement with Dominion, or it was part of the settlement that Tucker Carlson had to be fired, which wasn't true because Dominion didn't even get an apology. They didn't get a retraction on air. It turned out that a number of messages that Tucker Carlson sent were found in Discovery. The Discovery process, they discovered a whole bunch of his text messages and emails where he was talking about not just the whole Dominion thing. He actually was on the side of, that a lot of this conspiracy theory stuff was stupid. He didn't put out a lot of stuff about Dominion on his show. That was more, I can't remember who the names of the presenters were, but they were fired by Fox fairly early on. But in those messages,
Sidney Powell, I think, was one of them.
No, Sidney Powell wasn't one of them. She was like a lawyer for Trump. But yeah, in the text messages, he did refer to her as a cunt.
Lovely.
He had also said that he hated Trump. That in the text messages, he actually passionately hated Trump. And what's even funnier, when Trump came out and defended Carlson after his firing, saying he was a good man. So
he clearly hasn't seen the news on what Carlson said about him.
No, he did. But I think what it is, Tucker Carlson, once the revelation came out about him sending shitty text messages shitting on Donald Trump, he still did an interview whilst he was still working for Fox News for Donald Trump, but he obviously had bent the knee by then, and obviously probably gave him a groveling apology prior to the cameras rolling. And you know how Donald Trump is. I mean, you kiss his ass, you kiss his ring, he'll take you back into the fold. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people who shat on Donald Trump, who he took into the fold. People like Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, they all fucking shat on him, and they all fucking end up fucking kissing his ass. You know, so...
But among these text messages and emails that were discovered from Carlson, there was a lot of sexism, which is going to feed into the lawsuit that's currently ongoing against him by his former producer, Abby Grossberg.
Yep.
She's suing over sexism and misogyny that went on while she was working as producer for Carlson, including, in her case, she went into her office one day and found her walls were completely plastered with pictures of Nancy Pelosi in a plunging bathing suit. And she was invited into she was invited into group chats where they would discuss which woman was more fuckable. So, and this would go on fairly regularly.
Conservative values.
Yeah, conservative values, mate.
Yeah.
But on top of this, Carlson shed on a lot of his producers and a lot of executives on Fox. He actually felt like he was the one running Fox News, and everybody else was there to do his bidding effectively, including Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah.
So the decision came ultimately. Initially, it was believed it was a complaint from Lachlan Murdoch, Rupert's favorite son. But it turned out, no, Rupert is the one that made the decision to just shit can him. Carlson has put out a video on Twitter. He's got, he couldn't say much in it. He could make, a couple of, meaningless platitudes, but he's not allowed to do any kind of political broadcast for money. He's not allowed to go and work for any other news organization because Fox News still owes him $40 million in his contract. And he does anything to breach that, he can kiss that goodbye. And Rupert Murdoch wants him to breach his contract.
Absolutely. And they have a lot of dirt on him as well.
Oh, yeah.
If he oversteps the mark and attacks them, they're just going to release it.
Supposedly, they've got what's called an Oppo file on him, where they've basically collected all the dirt that they have on Carlson from all the time he worked at Fox News. And again, if he does anything to upset the network, that will get released.
But it's not going to affect his career. Because people, OAN and...
OAN's pretty much dead and it's in the toilet. If anything, I would suspect maybe the Daily Wire might make him an offer, similar to what they did with Stephen Crowder.
I heard he's going to Russia today. That's what I've heard.
That surprise me.
No, I just want to add...
That's the case. There's also potentially the Blaze TV, which is what Stephen Crowder left, and it's what Carlson's old friend Glenn Beck runs.
Yeah,
so but that's another possibility.
I just want to add that, all these social media things are not going to be great for Tucker Carlson because his audience are fucking over the hill and they only know how to use cable. My thing is that regarding Fox News, they had Bill O'Reilly. He went, he had a successor. That was Glenn Beck. He went, he had a successor. That was Tucker Carlson. There will be somebody after Tucker Carlson. And what worries me is that they've been consecutively getting worse and worse. Bill O'Reilly, he was fucked up, but he could be reasonable on certain issues. Glenn Beck was more evangelical, if anything, not necessarily bigoted. And now you've got Tucker Carlson, who's the complete package. So the person after him could be far worse, in my opinion. And then there will be somebody. There will be another success. There will be a successor. There always is.
Bill O'Reilly was he was an extremist religious nutbag, I would say, because he was involved in things like obviously Tilla the baby killer.
Of course,
that story out to where somebody actually killed an abortion doctor. Glenn Beck was unhinged. He was a nutcase and
conspiracy theorist.
He also would come out with the odd racist remark. Whereas
he's a Mormon. What do you expect?
Tucker Carlson was putting out white nationalist propaganda on the air. He was talking about things like the Great Replacement.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Can I just address what you're saying there, right? There's nothing wrong with saying I think a girl's hot or whatever. What they were saying was literally like, sorry, it's hard to explain.
Right, hang on, right. Let's just bring this up. Rick B is saying, haven't we all talked a bit spicy like Tucker Carlson when with friends? Well, yeah, that's true. There's a difference though when you're doing it in the privacy with friends and when you're doing it in a professional environment with your work colleagues. Now, to
the women that you're working with as well.
If Penny and I were to have a conversation, about someone that we both recognize to say, oh my God, she's incredibly hot. You prefer her over her. If we have that conversation in private, that's one thing. If I was to go into my place of work and say this in front of my female colleagues, it's like, and make some really, really sexist remarks, then I would be dragged up for that and potentially fired. And that's pretty much what Carlson was doing. It's not over-egging the pudding because there's a difference between what you say in private amongst friends or amongst your family members and what you say in a professional environment.
Yeah, that's a fundamental difference.
Yeah, we Ginger, we salivated over, what's that, Jade Cargill and all of this.
Yeah, exactly. We're saying, crush me death by snoozu. I want to be crushed between her thighs. All this kind of stuff.
Right, but imagine if you were working backstage at AEW and you were saying
that to her.
Or around anyone who knew her.
Or around anyone that knew her. Yeah, that's the thing.
Not just that, but there are people within our circles who are women, and I wouldn't want to ever make them feel uncomfortable. Some of them are quite attractive, but I would never want to make them feel uncomfortable by fucking thirsting for them, because that's not how my relationship is with these people. So there is a level. If you like them, boundaries there, and a level of respect. So. At the same time, I'm not going to chastise myself to such a degree that I can't ever talk about women, who I don't know, who I find attractive. I'm totally fine with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We and to be clear, like the women within our circles, like I actually have like I've got more female friends than I do male friends, and the stuff they say about things they want to do with guys is fucking hilarious. Like we all have a good laugh about it, but they would never go up to the person, degrade them in front of a group and all this kind of stuff, and it's nothing in the sense other than it's nothing degrading, if that makes sense. Everyone's the same, but like you say, it's about professionalism within the work setting and dragging other people into it, making them feel uncomfortable and sexually harassing individuals. That's where the lines are definitely drawn. Let me see what comments here. There are photos of Carlson's inters dressed in black shirts or black skirts.
Black shirts.
On the shirt spelling out derogatory word for a slave. You see? Hello, system.
Like I want to give you an example. Like I had Maisie Williams, aka Arya Stark from Game of Thrones. She jumped into my car about 4 or 5 years ago, and I remember seeing her and I think, oh my God, it's Maisie Williams. And she's one of my favorite people I've ever had in my cab. And I said to her, oh, Ms. Williams, it's really nice to meet you. I didn't think it was actually going to be you. I just thought it might be somebody who would have the same name as you. And then she looked at me like, who the fuck is this guy? Yeah, like she was like really, she looked at me really bizarre. And I kind of realized that, from, first impressions, I've kind of already made her feel a little bit uncomfortable in my car. And she's going to be in my car for about 50 minutes. So, you know what I did? I just shut my fucking mouth and drove. You know what I mean? Didn't interact with her, just left her alone, let her do her own thing, let her be in her thoughts or whatever, and drove because I didn't want to make things any fucking worse.
Wait, you read the room? You understood what was going on? That's outrageous. What kind of man are you?
No, don't get me wrong. Now, when we were reaching her location and she knew that she was getting to a location, I could feel the vibe that she was easing up a little bit, and enough time had passed that maybe she realized I wasn't creeping. So I quickly asked her a question about The Last of Us because there was rumors that she was going to play Ellie in The Last of Us. So I asked her, "Are you going to be in The Last of Us?" And she told me, "Oh, I heard the rumors, but I think I'm too old to play that role." That's what she said. And then she got out the car and she sparked up a fag and she fucked off. Never saw her again. Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't mean she had a fight with gay person, cigarette.
Yeah.
That clear to our American audience.
Sparked up a fag.
Just randomly fucking punched the gay guy as she walked past. Okay. Let's see here. His car has autopilot and he was asleep. The steering wheel rumbles when it gets close to his destination. Your secret's out, Zam.
Yeah.
Secret's out.
He's one of Elon Musk's self-driving cars.
Is it possible, like
That's why he's had about 15 accidents this year alone.
Is it possible that Carlson goes like onto YouTube and tries to use that as a platform?
He can't. Well, here's the thing, right? He can't until the settlement is reached, because again, he's got a $40 million contract, and he's going to want every penny of it.
Yeah.
To give you an example, Keith Olbermann was fired by Rupert Murdoch from Fox Sports. This was back in, I think, 2001. Olbermann had reported that there were reports that the Dodgers were going to be sold, which Rupert Murdoch was actually an owner of. And he followed every protocol as far as Fox Sports was concerned, but they made the decision then to fire him immediately afterwards. Now, he had, I think, $700,000 left on his contract for the next 7 months. and they had Fox had made some disparaging remarks about him in the press, and it was.
We've lost William.
We might always disappear again, so be prepared for that.
It was to basically try and provoke a reaction.
Oh, he's kind of.
I'm back.
No, he's gone.
Keith Olbermann press. It was to try and get him to say something disparaging back about Fox, so then they could actually fire him for a legitimate breach of his contract. At which point they wouldn't have to pay him the other $700,000. Olbermann was smart enough, kept his mouth shut for the next 7 months, and once his final check cleared, he was free to just badmouth Fox as much as he liked.
Yep.
Which he ended up doing for the rest of his career.
Oh yeah, and it's what Carlson is probably going to be doing. He's probably going to keep his mouth shut as long as possible, putting out as much empty stuff as he can. Because again, he doesn't need to put out anything. I mean, he can put out as many meaningless platitudes as he likes. The QAnon audience there are going to pick up anything.
Yeah,
they'll say like, "Oh well, the way he's combed his hair, that's a signal to us about something."
No, but Shred, what it is that. He's no longer on Fox News, and people like Bill O'Reilly and Glenn Beck have moved on from Fox News, but they don't have the audience they did have when they were on Fox News. It'll be no different for Tucker. It'll be no different for Tucker Carlson. He might have some online show or whatever, but all the old fogies who watched him, they will have no fucking clue about that. They don't even have to fucking use a computer. I mean, just a remote control is as complicated as it gets for them. So,
but I think it's probably going to be a case of he will still appeal to a younger conservative audience. I think those younger members of the GOP who will,
to a degree, because even he will end up being boomerish. The guy's not fucking young himself. He looks great for his age. I'll be honest with you. He's in his 50s, but even he'll end up being a bit boomerish. I mean, look at Bill O'Reilly. Look at fucking Glenn Beck. They all look fucking like old men. Eventually, that's going to happen to Tucker Carlson as well. I think that there will need to be a successor, and I think younger people are more inclined to follow people like Tim Pool, for instance, then and what's his face, small face, what's his name, Charlie Kirk. Yeah. Those sort of dickheads, you know what I mean?
I still think there's probably a place for Carlson in some respects where I think maybe the Daily Wire might actually make him an offer.
Oh, yeah.
I feel for him. I feel for him that he's
on the point there as well. Tucker Carlson will be fine. Like, he's not.
Yeah, he's got his money. Yeah, I mean, the guy's loaded.
He'll find a new place.
Well, again, Bill O'Reilly's notoriety grew, but and he was the #1 host on Fox, and where is he now?
Yeah, I just don't think he'll reach those levels. That's my opinion. He might end up somewhere else.
He won't reach. No, you're right.
Yeah,
none of them have reached the levels once they've left Fox, but he'll still reach an audience. Whether
they'll still make a living. I mean, Bill O'Reilly I think still makes a living on the podcast network. Glenn Beck owns the Blaze, and I think he makes a living off of that still. I mean, it was healthy enough that he was able to pay Steven Crowder.
Well, Rigby, you misunderstand me. What I'm saying is that Tucker Carlson himself is in his 50s, but his audience, they're fucking in their 70s and 80s, maybe even 90s. They are fucking over the hill motherfuckers. Majority of people who watch Fox News are pensioners, and a lot of them, when it comes to computing, they're rather. They don't do podcasts and fucking all that sort of shit. They watch TV. They're old school. Cable news. That's what they do. That's why Fox News is the most popular news channel in America, because everyone who watches it is an old motherfucker, because younger people do shit what we're doing like what we're doing right now is computers. There's a big difference.
Yeah. And on that as well, so now that they've had like a mixture of hosts doing Tucker Carlson's show, the audience has dropped by over 50% on that. So Tucker Carlson was their biggest draw. Now that he's gone, Fox News could be in trouble.
Fox News have gone woke apparently. So stupid. All shit.
Yeah, they've gone woke.
They're blaming the left. They're blaming the left for what Fox News, what Rupert Murdoch decided to do. Blame the left for anything the right wing want to do. Just blame the fucking left for it.
Yeah, they also, but they also blame. Well, any right wing policies that affect their right wing friends is just like, oh, they've all gone left wing. It's like, what the fuck are you on about, you dumb? Explain to us what woke is. What exactly? Okay. Speaking of right wing stuff, we're going to talk about an incel got laid and is in a relationship, and his whole group.
Oh, yeah.
I saw that.
You guys see this?
So I said, sorry.
Now-
Sorry.
let me see. Right, there we go. Right, I've got the article here. I thought I'll read the article rather than play it because we can have a laugh. So, right, we're only 4 months into. So the article's from Kotaku, who are a little bit too fucking insufferable, but it's still a funny article. We're only 4 months into the calendar and the incel community, an insular corner of the internet composed of dudes who lack romantic and sexual relationship with, despite trying, has lost one of its strongest soldiers because, well, he's finally done the deed. On Monday, Twitter user Komerzaj, who is self-described as a LeBron James of not having sex,
Jesus Christ, that's one hell of an insult.
he described himself as that as well.
That is amazing.
The LeBron James of not having sex broke the news of his recent life events in the following to his followers like a fatigued war general of old, delivering a disheartening development to his troops, saying, I feel a lot of mixed feelings about leaving the incel community. While it feels good to no longer be incel, I'm going to miss all the friends and connections I've made. To all of you who have supported me over the years, thank you. As I start a new chapter in my life, I'll buy it late. And so the incel civil war here we have Komerzaj's ex-community of involuntary celibates did not take the press released stylized tweet well, probably in part because Komerzaj has long served as a moderator for the incels.is web forum. Fuck me. Which has over 20,000 registered users. In case you were curious, the incel.is website explicitly states that the forum is exclusively for lonely people who wish they had someone in their life to, quote, talk to people just like you. Komerzaj is no longer the turtly enough for the Turtle Club. So while members took to congratulate him on having sex, others within the worldwide incels community took to virtually tarring and feathering the newly minted sex haver. Some even went so far as to harshly label Komerzaj a fake cell. Well, no, it's just no longer a fuck. Anyway, one taste of pussy pie and a man will turn his back on his friends just like that. Twitter user old man boy pussy.
Old man boy pussy.
Old man boy pussy wrote in a quote tweet. Another quote. That is why the incel community will never start a movement and bring about change. It only takes one hole to sacrifice itself and give some crumbs of pussy, and the whole movement would collapse due to many betraying. Another distraught incel wrote.
I don't get it though.
Well,
like, these
it
guys...
goes to disprove the whole thing that it is not involuntary.
Exactly.
These guys go, well done, mate. You got a girl. Congratulations. You know, we're going to still be fighting our fight because we're not getting any. We wish we did ourselves. But good on you that you got a girl and now you're getting laid. Well done.
Well done, and you move on. You don't fucking
and you move on. But no, but they hit. Like, I don't get it. Like, what's their fight for? Like, they want to get pussy, and yet they complain that when one of their group does finally get pussy. So
it's like Schrodinger's pussy. Like, if you get some of it, is it like you go away, but if you don't get it, you carry on? Is it like one of those?
Right. Yeah, that's kind of what it is. Yeah.
I mean,
they're involuntarily celibate.
The whole article, it sounded like a piece of satire maybe that you would read in the Onion, written about Jeremy Hambley.
Yeah, exactly.
Is he married?
He's married, but he screams incel.
He screams incel. Yeah. He looks like the type of guy that just accidentally walked in on a woman and got lucky, and that was the end of that. But he still fucking speaks to the incel community like a messiah. Right, let's just see here. Woke is in its current form is pushing a social justice agenda because of a mistaken belief that there is an injustice where there isn't, and or to collect virtual signaling points. No. This is done by race swapping, such as characters in films labeling everyone you disagree with. Again, this is so
bullshit.
This is bullshit. You know,
This is
again,
bullshit.
woke. You're looking at liberal woke. Actual woke is just fucking not being a racist piece of shit that pushes for progressive policies. You're looking at it from an artistic perspective, where we're looking at it from a social and political perspective.
Look,
Yeah,
I
just being
want to mention
consciously
one thing.
aware that fucking
Look,
bad things happen.
Yeah,
like if
that's
there
what
is
it
a
is.
race popular character, like for instance, Nick Fury, he changed from white to black. No one gave a fuck. But once this woke shit started coming out of the woodwork, everything else after that, people started giving a fuck about. You know, if there was a black James Bond, people go crazy for that. But you know who'd be go crazy for that? People on the right over a fictional fucking character, which is absolutely ridiculous. Now,
Yeah,
there is one.
I would have loved fucking Idris Elba to be James Bond.
Yeah, James Bond is just a James Bond. Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
Like,
pushing for Henry Golding to be the next Bond, and he's Malaysian.
Yeah.
But
I like
he's
Henry Golding as
so
well.
good looking and suave and charismatic. He's a fucking great James Bond.
But you know, like for instance, like they made a black person play Cleopatra, you know, and we're talking about historical figures now,
Well,
and
that's
this is
documentaries. That's stupid.
which is in my opinion the incorrect thing to do, because Cleopatra was Greek, who ended up ruling Egypt. So having a black person,
yeah,
so that is wrong. But when it comes to fictional characters in films, if this is what the right have to go for regarding, you know, what is woke and shit like that, then it's ridiculous. It really is, because you know, like they complain about anything being woke. You know, like you know, trying like the Dylan Mulvaney thing. You know, they're complaining about that. You know, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like everything and anything which is not straight white men is fucking woke, and it needs to fucking stop. Because people like me, we fucking exist.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I just wanted to bring up his latest comment where he says you can't race swap Bond. Well, yeah, you fucking can. You can put anybody in there. Doesn't matter if he's black or white. He just has to be a suave, smooth spy.
Yeah,
that's the whole point of James Bond. He's a spy.
You have a problem when he was blonde from being a black-haired guy to a blonde-haired guy? Did you have an issue with that? Because before, you know, he was black-haired, then Roger Moore took over and he was more brown-haired, more blondie-haired. You know, Daniel Craig more blondie-haired to Pierce Brosnan, who had black hair. Did those things bother you? If they didn't fucking bother you, why the fuck do you give a shit about the color of his skin?
I want to bring up the next part of his comment where he says, also race swapping is lazy. Well, yeah, it can be, but make interesting new black characters. But when people do make interesting new black characters or new interesting gay characters or new interesting women characters, you say, why do you keep shoving this agenda down our throats?
Yeah, like Black Panther. Like, I mean, there were people calling that woke. The film's set in Africa with black people, for fuck's sake. How can it be woke? But people are calling it woke anyway.
And plus, what annoys me is when it's the other way, it's not a bother. Like for example, like when there's like a person who's in the original thingy is like a black character or an Asian character, and then they do white. There's not a bother read about it, but it's the other way around. It's like, oh, it's just pushing. It's like consistency, guys. It's like, who cares if it's the right person for the role? Go for it.
Yeah, as long as they put the guy that we want in there, then everyone's happy, kind of thing. And that's...
or they put somebody in who, you know, again, decent at the part. Again,
yeah, exactly.
You brought up Nick Fury. I always bring up Michael Clark Duncan as the Kingpin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
yeah.
Never mind woke, but you are calling it woke nevertheless. Black Panther, even if you think of the polish shit, which is fair enough, that's your opinion. If you think it's shit, I don't, you know, that doesn't bother me. But if you think it's woke, then you obviously
I mean, if
lots of black people on your screen.
If you're setting it in Africa, and it's, you know, and they even put on the reverse, they put the token white American guy in there, okay, but it's set in Africa. How the fuck is it meant to be woke? And Black Panther came out in a period where Stan Lee fought to have him as a character. Stan Lee fought in the 1960s to create Black Panther. Marvel Comics didn't want him. So, like, who's going to buy that? And he proved them wrong. And he kept pushing the boundaries. Stan Lee, by today's standards, the right wing would just call him like an ultra woke, like, you know, fucking far lefty nut job. But he was a massive pioneer at his time for the characters that he pushed, like you know, even with the mutants, and that was your algorithm for the black struggle
and civil rights movement.
Yeah. And again, he had to put in all white characters just because Marvel Comics wanted it so. So then he was like, okay, but it flopped. And then when he came back with Chris Claremont, and here you have suddenly a team of like that's multiracial, it was a smash success. Well, of course, that's a credit to Chris Claremont's writing. But Black Panther, Blade, all these kind of characters, there was huge pushback against them. And now when they come to the big screen, it's like, well, no, they've been in the zeitgeist for 50, 60 years already. And this is just a group to tap into. You could argue where they've gone overboard is when Marvel
this is so wrong.
What? Gone? What is it?
Stanley created fun stories. Are you, mate? Are you living under,
Rick,
a rock?
Rick,
you must be living under a rock. If you not watch X-Men, if you've not seen the stories of X-Men, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, for example, they're like a mutant disease that's more or less parodying AIDS during the height of the AIDS pandemic. What the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about, Rick?
And it was also a take of the civil rights movement.
Yeah, the X-Men was an allegory for the civil rights movement. And Malcolm X and Martin Luther King are Charles Xavier and Magneto. All right. Stan has explicitly said this. There's no hidden agenda. There's no trying to this and that. He was open about it. He's been open about it, and he was open about pushing for black characters to be in Marvel Comics. Stan Lee has always been political, but he's wrapped it up in nice, simple, fun stories for simpletons to not be like, hang on a second, what's going on here? This is too political. But it's all out there. And Chris Claremont in the 1980s with the mutant virus, that was about HIV. And God Loves, Man Kills was about right-wing Christian hypocrisy.
I would also raise a question. I mean, how far do you take the whole thing about, you can't make certain characters black or you can't make certain characters white? I mean, let's say, for example, in 10 years, they decide they're going to do a whole new installment of the Terminator franchise. Obviously, Schwarzenegger can't be in it anymore because of his age. So they decide, well, Michael B. Jordan, he's got the physique from Creed. Let's make him the Terminator. Now, are you going to object to the idea that there's somehow a black Terminator? Is that pushing an agenda? Just because they put, someone with a physical physique who happens to be black in the role instead of a blonde-haired Austrian?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I've said it a million times. When you take a property and you translate it onto another format, so let's say you took Lord of the Rings or James Bond, you took it from the book, you put it on screen. Now it's had hundreds of different iterations of it. Regardless of whether they go down the quote woke route and race swap everyone and all of that, it still doesn't affect you. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch that. You still have the hundreds of other iterations of your fantasies for you to enjoy. And now they want to target a new demographic with a character. I mean, it's not even targeting a new demographic. As long as the essence is there, then people will watch it. It's not like fucking Star Wars where it's lost its identity completely. It doesn't know what the fuck it is, and it's just bad storytelling. And so you put a black, a white, a chicken, whatever in there, people just don't give a shit because they know that they're just going straight into Disney Star Wars, regardless. But if the Broccoli's who run the James Bond thing and have run it for generations come in and they cast a different James Bond of a different race, it's still James Bond. The essence is still there. What drives it, it's still there. It's still either going to be really good or really bad, but the essence of what makes Bond Bond is going to be there, and it's still going to have people that go there, and people that don't like it can simply just go, okay, fine, I'm not going to watch this. I'm going to go back and watch the Pierce Brosnan ones or the Dalton ones or that. It doesn't ruin anything.
And as you said, iterations is because like there's so many iterations of James Bond. It wouldn't rock the boat remotely if we had a different James Bond of a different race. Like April O'Neil's Black in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a new one. We've had so many iterations.
The new movie and the previous series they did, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. She was black in that as well.
Yep, exactly. And like a lot of people complained, about Catwoman being black when at one particular point, even in the Batman, even though Halle Berry played her and what's her face played her back in the 60s, who was the original Catwoman. But they these things that they failed to realize these things. They all think Julie Newmar was the original Catwoman, and like if there's been so many iterations of things already, then the change up is fundamentally important. Giancarlo Esposito could be the new Professor X, and I'm all in for that.
Yeah,
he could be both.
Hang on,
he could be Magneto or a Professor X.
Was Julie Newmar the original Catwoman, or was it Lee Merriweather?
No, it's Julie Newmar. Because Lee Merriweather was after as a kid. Because there were three Catwomen. I can never remember which one came first, because I know there was Julie Newmar, Lee Merriweather, and Arthur Kett. Yeah.
Well, look, you're gonna have stuff which like in this comment here, you're gonna have stuff which is gonna be crap, which people will consider woke anyway, and that's gonna be their argument for saying why if you go woke, you go broke, and woke stuff is crap. Look, you're gonna have stuff which is gonna be crap, which people consider woke anyway. And I actually don't mind Star Trek Discovery. I'm a massive Star Trek fan. I think it's improved with each season, which is generally what Star Trek does anyway. The first couple of seasons are usually shit, and afterwards the following seasons tend to get a lot better because they find their groove finally. And Discovery is no different. But let's just be honest, a lot of people had a real issue seeing a black woman being the main lead, and that really was it, regardless of whether it was shit or not. I mean, that was the main issue.
Mental when you think about it, because Star Trek was literally like the original fucking woke series for its time.
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly. Yeah.
And then we had Cisco in the 90s, who was captain, and in my view, the best fucking captain. Fuck you all.
Right. Well, even with the original series change, you had a couple of American dudes. You had an alien first officer. You had a Scottish engineer. You had a Russian. Back then during the Cold War era, you still had a Russian. You had a Russian pilot. You had a Japanese American pilot and an African communications officer. I mean, it was diverse as fuck. It's a representation of our planet. I mean, not just a part of America, because Star Trek Starfleet is a representation of Earth. And
also the Star Trek Discovery captain is hot as hell.
Oh, it's Martin Green. She's gorgeous. I mean, James Bond, English. Look, I'm English. I'm fucking English. If I was slim enough and I was a good actor, I'd fucking play James Bond. You know what I mean? So you don't have to be white English. You can change things up. You can change his background. I mean, like someone like John Boyega could play fucking James Bond. You know what I mean? He's a British. He's a young British actor. You could, I mean, I always thought Idris Elba was good enough, but he's just too fucking old now. He's in his 50s.
Also, the fundamental difference between Bond and Cleopatra is one was real and the other's a fictional.
Exactly.
We're not talking about.
Zam, you mentioned Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Also, everybody forgets that Baxter Stockman was race swapped. I mean, Baxter Stockman in the original comic books was black, and then in the cartoon he was white.
Yep. I think he was mixed race, to be more precise, but black mixed race. Yeah. Katie Sackhoff at Starbucks. I mean, that for me, I remember seeing that, and it's funny. I think Katie Sackhoff looks really hot now. I never really found her hot back in the day, but she looks more hot now in the 40s. I mean,
I always thought they missed the trick with M in Bond films. I thought it'd be cool if they would have got Timothy Dalton to show up as M.
See, look, but like M is just a title of a position. You could be a man or a woman in.
No. I just thought they missed the trick. I thought that would have been great as a callback.
That would be brilliant. I would have loved that, because I love Timothy Dalton's two Bond films are my favorite Bond films. So
it's not real, dude. Like, how is that real? Go woke or don't go broke.
Go woke, go broke.
What does that mean? Right? Well, what are you trying to get at? Look at the Daily Wire movies with fucking what's her face, Carano. They're not killing it, are they? You think Pure Flix is fucking doing well at the moment? No, what are you talking about, dude?
No, but here's one thing I will say, and we've talked about this before. I've said it with Cheeto many times. when you put in diverse characters and you make that their identity, that's when you fuck up, because you take away from good storytelling and you do a disservice to your diverse characters. So when we said before, black person was in there playing whatever role, but recently what annoys me with that aspect of Hollywood now, it just becomes their whole identity that they're black or they're gay or they're trans or they're this, and it's just like, no, that's just them. What is their character? What is their motivation within the show, within the film? And we've seen a regression in that regard. And I've discussed this with Cheeto many times about that. When you do that, that's when you do a disservice. When you write something solid, and that everything becomes an afterthought, everything else, all the characters within it becomes an afterthought. But when you go in with a bias and it's a part of shit, you're suddenly going to blame this, and this. If we take Guardians of the Galaxy, for example, Guardians of the Galaxy has a very diverse cast. The first one, very good. The second one, massive pile of shit. The third one looks bloody shit. And what's that down to? Is it because of the diverse cast? No, it's down to James Gunn and his incessant ego and his use of, outdated humor, and his shtick is just outplayed. So, but if you're somebody who's already got a bias, you're going to come in and be like, look at this woke crap. It's because the cast is diverse. And that's the truth.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. I mean, something could be shit with a diverse cast. It's not because it's woke. I mean, like I just, once again, to Rick B, like, for instance, if somebody was a gay character for many years, always portrayed as a gay character in certain films and certain iterations, and they made him straight, and they made that person straight in a different iteration, would that be considered woke? Is that woke? Well, I want to know from you, Rick B. If somebody's gay for many iterations and they made him straight, is that woke in your mind? Because now they've made this guy straight. They made him, it was a gay lesbian woman, and now they've made this person into a straight white male. You know what I mean? I want to know, is that woke in your mind? Because
let's just go into the fact that the two characters that you and I have brought up when it came to race swapping, Nick Fury and Michael Clark Duncan as the Kingpin, was the defining character of them that they were suddenly black, or were they just well-written characters all rounded?
This is it. Exactly that.
And I believe Blade was Latino in those Spider-Man cartoons and stuff like that, and then they made him black.
No, I think
I could still be black Latino,
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, Latino. Like Miles Morales was created because Donald Glover wanted to be Spider-Man. The rumors of him playing Peter Parker, and that never materialized. This was about 10, 13 years ago.
No, because Miles Morales predates that. Miles Morales is
really
almost what?
I mean, it's like this urban legend that's gone around that
it's
Michael
an urban legend.
Going to play Superman, that's why Calvin Ellis was created, which wasn't true.
Yeah, Miles Morales was like 2006 or something like that.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, after they killed off Spider-Man or something like that. Then they brought in,
and people complaining about Miles Morales being created. A lot of people complain about Anthony Mackie playing Captain America because he's black and he's playing. But Sam Wilson's been in the comics forever, and when they complain about some of the stuff not being the same as the comics, they can't complain about
Sam Wilson was Captain America in the comic books. It was a natural progression. Him and Steve Rogers have been best friends since they brought the Falcon in what was it, the 60s or whatever. They've been best friends, and it was just a natural evolution. Nobody said shit when Bucky became Captain America after he blew Steve Rogers' head open at the end of Civil War. And then after that, they moved it on to
it's not so Rick. So, but regarding my question regarding about a lesbian person being turned straight, if it's not woke, it would be weird. It's not woke because wokers don't see straight men and women as victimized.
How are straight men and women a victimized group?
We're not looking at people as victims. We're just things change, and then people who complain about being woke complain about the changes. No one's victimizing anybody here, mate. You know, I think you're totally misunderstood.
Yeah, and it's not. Again, let's make it very, very clear. Nobody is saying that white men aren't victims of certain things. We know, again, there is a huge issue with mental health among males, and you can complain about them maybe being shifted to one side within the arts, but then are you complaining about the policies that are in place on a political level about what's been done to help? If white men are victims, what's been done? What policies are in place? But instead, what you're doing is the same thing as the liberals are doing, is you are deflecting and distracting away from policies and pushing it into the arts as a talking point and a nice distraction, rather than saying, okay, there is a huge problem with mental health among white men. One, why is this? Two, what's been done about it? Nothing. Oh, but I'll tell you what, now that they've cast a black guy, what about us white people? And it's just like, forget the arts. The arts is not your battleground, and I say this for both the woke and the left and the right and the center. The arts are not your battleground. The arts should be, let the writer and the director make the decisions there, and then if they want to do some changes and all that, that's on the artists. That's not your battleground. Your battleground is in the fucking grassroots politics and the main political sphere. That's where you're fighting. This is a fucking waste of time. Complaining about race swapping in Hollywood is a fucking huge waste of time and a massive distraction. And it works beautifully, because what's happening while we're sitting there arguing about race swapping in Hollywood? The rich are still getting richer. The capitalists are still pushing for fascist policies, and nothing is getting done. So,
I mean, do you realize what you literally sound like when you complain about race swapping of fictional characters? You sound like Megyn Kelly on Fox News saying, Jesus is white. He just is. Santa Claus is white.
I remember that one. Don't worry, kids. Santa Claus is still white. I remember she saying that.
Yeah.
You know, oh my God. Imagine if Like a Prayer came out today. My God. Oh my God. That video for Like a Prayer by Madonna with Black Jesus. Oh my fucking God.
It caused a lot of shit back then.
Yeah, but imagine if it came out today.
I'm just reading Rick B's latest comment. Forced diversity helps no one. It has to happen naturally in society and in the arts. Otherwise, you get kickback and resistance. If you naturally cast somebody, you know, like, again, Michael Clark Duncan or Samuel L. Jackson, if you naturally cast them to play, you know, some character that was traditionally played by a white actor or was traditionally white in a comic book, you know, it's not really forced diversity. It is naturally happening in society.
Doctor Who, mate. Doctor Who finally is played by a black guy after God knows how many iterations of a white guy. And some of the arguments I had on people online were saying, I don't, you know, because once they realize that they've been called out for being racist, because a lot of them are, they tell me,
well, because this came after Doctor Who had been played by a woman.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. And when this particular black guy is also gay as well, so they're even more pissed off. But once I tried to put logic into the equation, and they tried to change their tone by saying, well, you know, I don't mind if a black person does take the role, but they have to, you know, they have to be right. They have to have earned the role. And I'm thinking to myself, were you there at the fucking casting? Were you there when they were being hired for the job and they had to, what's the word?
Audition.
Do screen tests and auditions, stuff like that. You weren't there. How do you know that they were not right for the fucking role? I mean, it's.
But even if the producers actively said, for this iteration of Doctor Who, we want to go with a black actor. So fucking what?
What's wrong with that?
Well,
so what?
Look,
I'm just happy. In terms of Doctor Who, I'm just happy that Russell T Davies is back writing it, because I can't stand Mike Gatiss.
Right. So I'm going to just read like this. Right.
I'll get this question later.
When you're a minority, and I'm going to talk as a minority here. Right. When you're a minority, it's hard to find yourself being depicted in a positive way on screen a lot of the time, because if you're a black actor, sometimes you're going to be depicted as a criminal or in a gang and stuff like that. What's wrong with being playing a hero, somebody that you can look up to as a black kid growing up? Or if you're a trans person, rather than being seen as a sexual predator, you're seen as like this awesome hero or an awesome lawyer. What is wrong with that? Or if you're gay, what's wrong with seeing yourself rather than seen as this lesbian stereotype? You're a strong woman or a strong man, as empowered to gay. What is wrong with that? And I generally am asking that question. I'm not being a dick. I'm generally asking the question: what is wrong with representation?
And again, how far do you take it when it comes to fictional characters? I mean, are you one of these people that are pissed that a black woman is playing a mermaid?
Yeah, exactly. And even with the Star Trek Discovery, like he says, it ticks all the boxes. I think because the one person who's not in the Star Trek Discovery cast is a straight white male. There is a white male, but he's not straight. He's gay. So everyone in Star Trek Discovery is represented except for a straight white male. But I'll tell you one thing, mate. Straight white males have got nothing to worry about. There's plenty of shit for them to fucking be in. You know what I mean? So
they still run the world, so they're perfectly okay.
Yeah, and I get it. Like if it was like 7 white guys and 1 woman, would that be more fine with you? Like, I don't get it. You know what I mean? Little Mermaid could look like a pile of shit, but people are complaining
looks like
about
a pile of shit.
Oh yeah, I don't like the aesthetics of it, but again, I've got no complaints about the actress that they've picked, because again, she's a singer for one, and The Little Mermaid has a lot of musical numbers that does require the lead to sing.
Yeah, her acting doesn't look great, but her voice is fucking amazing. So even if the film is shit, we're gonna have iterations of the versions, of the music with her voice. So I'm all down for that, because the songs in Little Mermaid fucking slapped. Let's be honest, they were awesome.
Oh, a nice counter here from Daniel Barnes. When captains get to pick their crews, you're going to have a very diverse, varying crews from ship to ship, and even the most recent episode of Picard, like the crew of the Titan. This time around, they weren't just like men and women of different races. You had different alien species. The entire crew. I think there was. I can't remember any apart from like the main cast and everyone else, like the subcast. They're all fucking aliens. And that's what you want when it comes to a sci-fi show.
You've got strange new worlds with Captain Pike, so
I think as far as I'm concerned, just addressing this comment here, the majority of people, as long as it's good, don't give a shit.
Bond or Cleopatra, you can't compare.
Again, right? Cleopatra and Bond, you can't compare, because Cleopatra was a real human being. James Bond is a fictional character.
And on the note of Cleopatra, there is huge pushback from the left on Cleopatra as well. Okay, it's not just the we'll accept it and we're not going to say anything because we might get labeled a racist kind of thing. There's huge pushback from people that know the evidence. Okay, so again, that falls flat. That's just a stupid creative decision by Netflix that allowed a group of what I call the black version of the Flat Earth Society, who are adamant, because I've dealt with these people. This isn't a new phenomenon. I've dealt with these people since the fucking mid-2000s who insist that Cleopatra and Jesus were black. And I'm like, Jesus, you can fucking call him whatever you want. It's up to you. All right? But Cleopatra, we know, wasn't, or at least mixed race and all this kind of stuff. And if she was, fine. But she wasn't. And the fact that they've allowed this to come out as a documentary is stupid, but there's been more than enough pushback. And me, as a Greek, my own community has pushed back massively against this and found it highly offensive that they did that. But that's, if it was I want to make this clear. If Cleopatra was a drama or a TV series and they hired this actress to play her, I wouldn't have given a flying monkey's ass. If she's right for the role, it doesn't matter. We've had fucking Catherine of Aragon, I think it was, was played by a black actress recently, and I know people were up in arms in that, but who gives the shit? It's a drama series. Yes, I know it's based on historical character, and you could argue from that point of view, but there are millions of depictions in other shows.
Penny, just to bring it up, have you watched Bridgerton at all?
Who?
Bridgerton.
Bridgerton. No, that's not my cup of tea.
But basically, what they do is like I think it's like Georgian times, so like Queen and people like that, people who were white people, but it's a drama series, so it's doing exactly what you're saying. It's taking a historical event, but it's doing it in a dramatic sense, and it's putting people of
and
color.
everyone wanted to fuck the guy that was in the first series.
He was a black guy.
I think it was a mixed race dude who played one of the characters, and everyone I know wants to ride his dick. And it's just see, they forgot that they cast diverse characters in there because everyone wanted to ride the main guy's dick, and nobody's watching it because he obviously, I think he gets killed off in that one, or he's not in the second series, and nobody's watching it. But
I just want to go on.
No, go on.
I want to respond to this comment because his Star Trek cast, the Discovery cast looks weird. Like if you start a new job and everyone was gay or strong independent woman, you would notice it. First of all, I live in London. There's gay and strong independent women everywhere. Secondly, this is the future. There's more likely to, regarding the gay thing, there was 2 gay people in Discovery because they're a couple. So if they're a fucking couple, you can have 2 fucking gay people there. And obviously the captain and then her successor, played by who's Burnham, were both strong, were both women. So you have that too. I mean, like, why is like gay people and women such a big deal, and why of them not being white is also a big deal? Like, I just don't get it, man. Yeah.
Trevor, you go.
Yeah, I was going to point out that I actually did start a job. Let's see, how long have I been in my current job? Coming up 15 years. First 4 years, I was the only straight white man there. Though everybody else I worked with was either a woman or the 2 men that I worked with were gay. So, yeah, it happens. It happens in the real world, mate.
I mean, in my current,
I didn't give a shit.
I work with 7 women, 1 trans person, and 3 of the people I work with are bi. So you can't be more diverse than that.
And in the last few years, I've been very open about being bisexual myself. So and I'm also I'm the only brown guy in this fucking.
You're out the group.
I'm the only fucking brown person.
What are you talking about, Panny? It was you who came out to. Well,
I'm the only
well, sorry, he came into, I should say.
Well,
I am still way more attracted to women, but there are some guys I think to myself, I would hit that. But nevertheless, I'm also an ethnic minority within this group too. This shit exists, mate. I mean, maybe if you weren't fucking, within, in your landlord property, fucking trying to strike up, get the rent out of all the motherfuckers living in your apartments, and you went out in the world a little bit and realized that there's more to this world than just straight fucking white men. You realize diversity does exist.
Not that we don't appreciate your contribution, Rick, because I love that you've come to this.
I've been to heaven,
and
you're brown.
Talking about this kind of
in
stuff.
London. I'm
brown in London, and ran gay clubs at Heaven. Been surrounded by blacks and gays all my life. The STD cast looks weird. As I
can't help you, mate.
we can't help you with that. If you think, listen, one here. So, is Michelle Yeoh's character in this a human, or is it?
She's human, but what it is, her character Joy Zhou gets killed off quite early in season 1, but then they bring her back from an alternative dimension, a different version of her, who's more cunning and a bit more Machiavellian. And so,
okay. So, I don't need the details. You're boring the shit out of me. I don't give a fuck about stuff.
And she's got her own movie coming out as well.
Yes, but my point is, she has a Greek name in this, and that is actually quite fitting because, again, if you look now with a lot of Chinese people moving into Greece, that were buying up a lot of stuff and businesses and all this kind of stuff. So it's not weird to see that kind of shit in the future. If you're looking at demographics for the future, it's just the landscape's going to be a lot more fucking mixed than what it is now. And to the point of sexuality, you fucking kidding me? when we're done with the far right idiots of this world and religion is dead and buried, you honestly think that people are gonna be just gay or straight? I think with in terms of sexuality, people are just gonna be more fluid with it. They'll be like, I want to bang that dude, I want to bang this chick, I want to be. I know obviously you can't choose your sexuality, but I think as we grow up, that it won't be this thing, these rules that are in place, and a lot of attitudes will change towards it. So getting bent in shape about current issues within the Star Trek thing, it's just silly.
Well,
And I find that
am
Star
going.
Trek
I'm
is
going to
still
disagree with you
very
slightly,
backwards in a
Danny.
lot of its stuff. Yeah,
I'm
go
going
for
to
it.
disagree. I'm going to disagree with you slightly in the sense that there will still be people who are 100% straight, 100% gay.
Yeah,
There'll be more fluidity, but here's the thing: people will be more open. There'll be more people willing to be open about their sexuality.
yeah,
I agree.
People won't be hiding in the closet. Well, not that many people, I should say, will be hiding in the closet if we get rid of all that. If we move away from the far right agenda, which says, this person, you've fled persecution from this country for being gay. Well, you're going to have to go back and just pretend that you're not gay.
yeah, exactly.
And just going back to Rick B again, he said he's brown, he lives in London, gay nightclub, all of that. I mean, London itself is a representation of everything. It's the ultimate melting pot. You'll find every nationality, every sexual orientation, trans people, cis people. You find it all here. So to feel that something like STD then is obviously ticking boxes. I find how you see that level of representation to be an issue for you so bizarre. I mean, you live in a multicultural society. I mean, why can't that be a crew in space? I mean, pretty much all the Star Trek crews, not just STD, all the previous ones have had some levels of representation. So why would STD be any different? It's weird. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
You had a Black Vulcan. There was no Black Vulcans in Voyager prior to that. You had Harry Kim, an American Chinese. You had Sulu, Japanese American. Pavel Chekhov, a
Chakotay, Native
Russian.
American.
Chakotay, Native American. Cisco, the first Black captain. All these. You had
an English Asian.
Yeah, exactly. Bashir as well, and then all the different alien representations as well. Yeah, this response here, I have no problem with. If you think she was crap in STD, fine. How about it? No problem.
Absolutely, but
no problem.
If that's your main argument, if your main argument is about it's just shit and the writing is shit, there's nothing wrong with that. No one's going to chastise you for that. But it's just confusing. The other stuff is just confusing and things like that. But on the writing stuff, that's where I always focus on. That's my main issue. Is the writing good? If not, then the whole thing's a pile of shit, and I don't care who's been cast on it.
If Voyager came out today, they'll be calling that woke because Catherine Janeway is a female fucking captain, regardless of her being white. They'll make an issue out of that, and I think she's a great character in Star Trek mythology now. So, and she's come back in various ways. She was in Star Trek Nemesis in a cameo. She's in Star Trek Prodigy as well. So she's a legacy character now. At 7 of 9, and could be the first queer captain if they do make a Star Trek Legacy. Because she ends up taking over the Enterprise G at the end of Star Trek Picard season 3. It is. It's like. Why would people have a problem with that as well? Anyway, using that analogy, London is diverse, but walk into 10 different bars and they'll have 10 different vibes and might feel like boxes are being checked. You're damn fucking right.
Yeah.
You're damn right, man. You go to Camden Town and you'll find every fucking type of... There was a point where you could, you'd be punks there.
STD. I disagree with that. Sorry.
I mean, you could go into
Camden as well.
And in the 80s, you go to Camden Town and you can go to a place full of fucking skinheads and white supremacists and cross the road and you'd be in a fucking gay bar.
Yeah, and down the road you'd be in a reggae bar, and down the road you'd be in a goth bar, and
I've noticed with sexuality, I've been to bisexual water sports sex clubs across Europe. There's a great gay one in King's Cross called. Okay, yeah, fair. If you're very open-minded and then I don't get you.
Maybe you're open-minded about your own sexual pleasures, but you
yeah.
don't come across as very open-minded about
other people.
Yeah. Voyager's better written show than STD. That's a different. There's a lot of people I know who dislike Voyager for some reason. I love Voyager. I prefer Voyager over Star Trek Discovery myself personally.
It was hit and miss for me.
Yeah, I wasn't. That's when I kind of just stopped watching it. I wasn't a big fan of Voyager. I loved DS9 was my
TNG and DS9 would be for the best two for me.
Yeah, I loved
all the 90s and
Babylon 5 and all this kind of stuff. I was just like, oh, I get two shows with space stations and chaos ensuing. Lovely jubbly.
Yeah, I spent from late 90s onwards. I started spending like Chalk Farm, Camden. And so being a cab driver, I still go for Camden now. But the punks, like very rarely do you see the punks anymore. Now and again you might catch them, and the tattoo fuckers and stuff like that. But they're a dying breed, unfortunately.
No, the punk movement just ended up being a bunch of fucking hypocrites as well. Because when they were young, they were left wing, and then when they got older, they just became fucking neoliberals. It's just like, ugh, whatever. Yeah. But anyway, speaking of white men, we have the remake, which I didn't know was being made, of White Men Can't Jump.
Oh,
is it a movie or TV series?
That was a parody.
I thought it was a parody as well.
Yeah, I thought that was just a piss take someone had made. No, that can't be real, right?
It's real.
It's real.
It's real. It's coming out on
that Jack Harlow guy is actually a rapper.
Is it a series or a movie?
It's a movie.
Film.
Oh, well, then there's no point. Then
and they cast.
They made a series. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but Jack Harlow, he might be a rapper. Stick to fucking rapping. But these two had no chemistry. There'll never be like chemistry like Woody and Wesley had. There's a reason they kept trying to make more films with them two in it, because like that white man. It's just one of those. Money Train was what they settled on, which was another.
And I think were they in Wildcats together with Goldie Hawn back in the day? I know Wesley Snipes was in there.
Let me check.
Yeah, I mean, but like, look, I wanted. There's a thing we're going to be doing on Nerdtube in the future called Debatemania, and my personal debate is this: I don't like films that are already excellent to be remade. Remakes should only belong to shit films, films that didn't come out too well and they were not that great in the first place, and so you need to go back to the fucking drawing board and remake it and make a better version of it. Because there's nothing worse than having films like Clash of the Titans, Total Recall, and now White Men Can't Jump being remade when the originals were already fucking good in the first place.
Yeah. It'd be like trying to remake Falling Down. So you can't fucking touch these.
I love that film so much. Yeah. Or Psycho. They remade Psycho. Like, why? You don't need to.
No,
I don't mind.
Well, in fairness, haven't they done a couple of different like reiterations? I mean, wasn't the Bates Motel?
Yeah.
I mean, Bates Motel the series was good.
I don't mind series iterations of movies that you can stretch it out and stuff like that. But to actually make a remake of an actual film, which is already good, that's my problem. There are certain films that weren't that great that had, when they gave the remake treatment, they were far superior. Like I think Ocean's 11. Yeah, Ocean's 11 is a problem. But I watched the original Ocean's 11. It's shit. I thought it'd be really good with the Rat Pack and all of that. No, it's actually The Thing. Yeah, much better.
Much better.
Yeah,
much better.
Yeah, I would also say Scarface.
I don't personally like Scarface, but I could totally agree. Regardless, it's just a Brian De Palma thing for me. But the remake definitely would be. It's far superior because that's what people talk about. Nobody fucking remembers the original.
There's a whole bunch of like really shit films that need that remake treatment. There's one film in particular I'd love to see to get the remake treatment, and that's Silver Bullet. I would love to see a remake of Silver Bullet. It's a werewolf film, obviously. It's got Corey Feldman, or he's in the Corey Haim, one of the fucking Coreys.
Never seen it.
And a member of like his little village, and Gary Busey plays an uncle. Like the member of their village is a werewolf, and they have to figure out who he is, and they want to kill this person as well. See, look, so here we go. Finally, Rigby, we're both brown and we agree. How can you not like Scarface? Yeah, well, he's ginger.
It's
You know what I mean?
I don't know. It's just Brian. There are just certain directors whose stuff I don't like. Brian De Palma is one of them. Ridley Scott is another one. It's just some exceptions, obviously, like Alien, and that's about it. I didn't like Blade Runner either. I know. Shocking.
No. I'm with you. I think Blade Runner is one of the most overrated pieces of shit. It should have been a generic action, fucking futuristic, wham bam, thank you, man movie.
Yeah,
but no, they fucking made it all this.
Blade Runner is my favorite film. So,
but you know, but it's not one of those where I will sit there and say it's a pile of shit. For me, it's just I didn't like it. I'm not saying it's not good. It just wasn't for me. There are just some films that people absolutely like The Godfather. The films don't like them at all. They bored the shit out of me. But I totally side with people who say, you know, these are amazing, these are great. It's like, that's fine. It just wasn't for me. I'm not one of those that's going to keep banging on about something that wasn't for me. I know I'm in the minority. I accept that.
I think
but I'm just better than everyone.
I do think that you got a point though, Sam, that sometimes you want a film that didn't quite work the first time. But I think that the thing is that it's a film that maybe the technology has moved on and we can make a better version of it. Like, for example, even though I think The Fly, the original one, was fine for the 1950s, 1960s, they did a better version of it in the 1980s.
Oh, the one with Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
Well,
there's a director that I absolutely love, which is David Cronenberg.
I agree, but that same example was then used for Clash of the Titans because they used stop motion animation, Ray Harryhausen and stuff like that.
Sorry,
and then
Rick.
they obviously went with the special effects and the modern day special effects, and unfortunately, even with people like Mads Mikkelsen in it, it just
what still ended up
not being Clash of the Titans.
Oh right, yeah.
With like from stop motion animation, they did what you said. They used modern day technology to give a different spin on it, but it just didn't work. It fell flat on its face, and it's a shame, really. Look, I do like that action scene with the Medusa. I actually think it's different. I wouldn't say it's necessarily better because I think the Medusa scene in the original Clash of Titans was more of a horror style, whilst the Medusa scene in the Sam Worthington version is more of a action movie style, and they both have their place. But overall, I prefer the original. So David Cronenberg.
Yeah, I mean, there are other movies where, again, you could maybe make the argument that, okay, that the technology's moved on, you could maybe improve on them, but in other cases, I would say, well, no, they were actually, they still hold up to this day. I mean, RoboCop, they tried remaking that. Again, I think the argument they had was that, well, the technology is better, we can make more realistic looking robotics. They tried, it wasn't good. I still prefer the design of the old Ed 209s than what they did in the new ones.
We sounded like an elephant.
Yeah.
I mean, the first thing you have to get right when you're doing a RoboCop remake is you have to get the satire right, and the commentary, the political commentary there.
Oh yeah.
If you don't do that, you're not gonna fucking get a good RoboCop remake, because basically you're just taking a RoboCop thing and making it into just a soulless action thing and ignoring what actually made RoboCop fucking amazing. Which was,
it was also what was missing from the Starship Trooper sequels.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Starship Troopers went literally from the first one, which was basically anti-war film, to just soulless generic action films, and that's why they're
Paul Verhoeven.
Paul Verhoeven, yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah.
RoboCop director, yeah.
RoboCop director and Starship Trooper, and he was able to put that political spin on it. The very political spin nowadays that people would call films like that woke. Funnily enough.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question.
Except the people who would call that kind of thing woke completely got the messaging wrong from Starship Troopers. I mean, I don't know if you remember that Sargon and UKIP were using the slogan "Service Guarantees Citizenship" from Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were basically mimicking the Nazis, because by the end, when you see fucking Doogie Howser dressed up in
they
black,
were fascists.
Yeah, I mean,
they were full-blown fascists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even their uniforms matched as such.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm going to ask you a question now. If there's like one film that you could remake that quite of didn't work but had an amazing premise, but they just executed with shit, what would it be? I know you've always said Silver Bullets, Sam.
Oh, that's a good one.
No, I'll think of another one. But I'll let these guys go ahead because I did say Silver Bullet.
No, that was a tough one.
It's a tough one. I'll definitely come. I'll do the management speak. We'll circle back to that one as my brain kind of goes through it. But that's a fantastic fucking question. Put it
I
to
would
the
say
chat
Spawn
as well.
I would say Spawn. I thought the original Spawn movie. I remember watching the trailers for that, and I thought, "Wow, this film looks amazing." And then I saw the film, and I thought, "Wow, this film's one of the biggest piles of shit I've ever seen in my entire life."
I would have also said Judge Dredd at one point, but then again, they made that fantastic version with Carl Urban.
Fantastic version.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Rick B. RoboCop is my favorite film. It's perfect. I'd buy that for $1 tattooed on me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's beautiful. Love it. Yeah, I love fucking RoboCop. It's definitely one of my favorites. It's definitely up there.
And by the way, Paul Verhoeven also made Total Recall, which also had political commentary as well. Yeah. I loved his elements of political commentary in his movies. It's fantastic, and three of his movies are some of my favorites. So
Verhoeven's a fucking legend.
I've actually got a movie that could maybe answer Bossman's question. A movie that had a great premise, but they fell flat on. And I'll see if you guys agree with me. Hancock.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I would remake that. But what I would do with
Will Smith
superhero movie.
But what I would do is I'll keep him as a hobo. I'll keep him as a hobo throughout the whole movie. I wouldn't make him like have this character arc where he turns into like he sobers up and all of that shit. No, fuck that. Keep him as a hobo where he's trying to save people, but he's smashing through buildings and God knows what else. You know, he's half drunk and all of that sort of stuff. That's the way I'd keep him throughout the whole fucking movie. No character arc.
Or he could try and have the redemption arc, but fail.
Yeah.
And that Charlize Theron scene, like here's some people, like here, like maybe I'll be with the anti-wokesters on this one, but the Charlize Theron scene, when that revelation where you found out that she was a superhero and her and Will Smith were actually like Greek gods or some shit like that, or it's bollocks. It just didn't work for me. Yeah, and like he Hancock goes to jail, and all these inmates want to beat the shit out of him. Do they not realize who the fuck he is? You know what I mean? And they want to beat the shit out of him. Are they stupid? Like I never understood those sort of scenes. Really ruined it for me. So yes, I totally agree. I would definitely remake Hancock. For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys carry on. I'm trying to find something that I would.
Oh, apparently Rick B met Peter Weller. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, he made The Naked Lunch, which was one of the most bizarre movies I've ever fucking seen. I watched it as a kid, so I vaguely remember it. But yeah, that was like a David Lynch movie. And I think at that particular time he was trying to get out of the RoboCop shadow, so to speak, and he's making stuff like Blue Jean Cop and all of that sort of stuff.
Okay, yeah.
So
was that movie more or less bizarre than say Pink Flamingos?
Pink Flamingos? I'm not sure if I've seen that.
Oh, have you never seen that one?
No, I'm not sure. I mean, David Lynch is like, he was like the weirdo director of his era, with stuff like obviously Twin Peaks and Dune and shit like that. So yeah.
I can't think of anything like, but the only one I go to is the new Star Wars trilogy. But actually, the original Star Wars trilogy. There you go. The prequel, sorry, not the original. My bad. The prequel trilogy completely fucking changed that because I didn't like those either.
Well, let's be honest. You could certainly do a hell of a lot fucking better than just the lazy over-the-shoulder shots that George Lucas was doing to a green screen.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there you go. The prequel trilogy, I'd remake that.
It's for me, like with the prequel trilogy, remaking that is like you have to somehow still align it with the original trilogy. So
and you can do. It's very easy. The biggest changes that I would make is Jar Jar Binks, instead of being a fucking knob jockey is to have him like, a disgraced warrior that failed in combat, so you can keep that aspect of it. Episode 1, it's okay, a couple of tweaks, but the key is episode 2, and that's where I have Anakin turning in episode 2 by the end of it, or maybe have him like found early in episode 1, and then you kind of skip a few years, and then by the end of episode 2, and then episode 3 is just a decimation of the Jedis.
Well, here's where I would disagree. I would say episode 2, you should probably focus on, because I don't know if you remember the scene in episode 2 where Obi-Wan and Anakin are talking about all the adventures they had together. Fucking show them.
Yeah.
Fucking show them having adventures together.
They did in Clone Wars. You just missed it.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, they should have shown that in episode 2. That's what the whole premise of episode 2 should have been. It should have been.
That's what I mean. And by the end of episode 2,
by the episode 2, yeah, absolutely. Have Anakin start, or even just starting to turn.
Or starting. And then the third one is not doing all the good shit at the last 10 minutes. It's the whole film about the decimation of the Jedis.
Or the start of the movie to the middle. The middle is maybe where you finally have Anakin turn to the dark side, and then that's when you start having
that's fine.
The whole second half of the movie is the decimation of the Jedi.
I would personally make Anakin turn to the dark side in episode 2. Personally,
yeah, me.
You know what I mean, and have a period of him being,
it still works.
Him being Darth Vader without the suit for a period of his life, because he was hardly Darth Vader without the suit. As soon as he turned. Like within a day, like within half a day, he was already in the suit. So
I agree.
To the dark side. You know what I mean? So it would be nice to see what it's like without it.
That would have been great too. I mean, also have Anakin seduced by the Emperor by the end of episode 2. Episode 3, first half the movie is Anakin Skywalker and decimating the Jedi.
Yeah.
Sorry, boss, but just one more thing, and I'll get to you. I would like to see more of his piloting skills, because when Obi-Wan talks about him in New Hope, he mentions that him being the best star pilot in the galaxy, and even though we saw moments of that in episode 3, at the beginning of episode 3, I would love to see more of that throughout the original trilogy, just generally. You know what I mean? So I know we kind of got the pod racing a little bit, and at the end when he's like accidentally taken into a fucking Nabooian fighter.
No, but you see,
I certainly would have had them discover Anakin maybe more as a teenager rather than a small child.
Yeah, I was just about to say that in the middle of a civil war on his planet or whatever, and he obviously stands out as a pilot, and that's where they kind of clock on. Oh, maybe he's imbued with the Force and all this, and then you kind of work from there. But I agree, it should have been from a teenager rather than a little kid.
Gary?
Still bring up. Well, my one would be. There's a movie cut from the 90s called Free Jack, but it's based on a book.
Free Jack, yes.
Free Jack, definitely, yeah.
Because it's based on a book, and the book's amazing.
And Mick Jagger.
I don't know if you guys have ever read the book it's based on, but the book's amazing. I know that book is on screen. Well, a little bits of it.
By the way, I know what film I would remake, and if you're cool with like sequels, then which you're cool with because you want to remake the entire prequel trilogy. It's got to be Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of Crystal Skull, because that film was a fucking atrocious piece of shit. And as the big Indiana Jones fan here, I am disgusted by that movie. It is awful in various ways, and that film needs to be remade, and it needs to be remade in a way where it's using practical effects and practical sets, and not all this CGI green screen bollocks.
And your monkeys.
You know what I mean?
Right, but here's the thing, right. Free Jack and Hancock, I think 10 years, from now, you could Free Jack you could probably redo now. Hancock, I would say, give it another 5-10 years, you could probably remake it, different actor, nobody would care for the original. If you tried remaking an Indiana Jones movie, people might actually take issue with it. If you try remaking the Star Wars movies, again, people might take issue with it. Hancock was a standalone movie, which you can sort of justify doing a reboot of. And again, same with Free Jack. It was a standalone movie, which you could maybe justify doing a reboot of.
Do you want there to be a successor, by the way, to Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones? Would you like? I mean, people were saying Chris Pratt, but he's now getting too old. I mean, he's already in his mid-40s. He's getting too old for the fucking, But
I think
by the time
if you want to do a series of movies with a younger Indiana Jones, absolutely. If you want Harrison Ford to pass the torch on to somebody, then I think it's going to have to be a completely different franchise.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that anyway. I want it to not not that I want it to die with Harrison Ford. What I mean is, once that era dies with Harrison Ford, and if you go back to it with a new actor playing Indiana Jones, yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, if you go with a brand new actor playing Indiana Jones, he's had no connection with Harrison Ford. That's fine. Again, it's much like when you have a new actor playing James Bond. He's not had any connection to the previous Bonds.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. I mean, I love the Young Indiana Jones series.
Yeah, that was amazing.
That was a great show.
With what's his face? I forgot the name of the actor. He actually played. He was actually in The Boys. That same actor.
What's that?
Sean Patrick.
He actually played Sean Patrick Flannery or something like that.
Yeah,
he played
Sean
that
Patrick
sort of.
Flannery.
He played that Deadshot sort of actor in The Boys. Let's read some comments here.
Yeah.
I worked in the cinema when the prequels came out, and you used to see Star Wars nerds dressed up, going in all excited with their lightsabers, and come out looking disappointed and sad.
Yeah, that's right? The sequel in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Well, the prequel in a nutshell, I should say.
Yeah, unless I see Darth Binks in these fever dreams.
But
a lot of people.
That flaming idea is so cool.
I would like to see. By the way, I would have been cool seeing Jar Jar Binks in the sequel trilogies if we had the chance. But I worked with a few premieres. I looked after Schwarzenegger for the UK premiere of End of Days. So that's a shit film. Star Trek Insurrection was fun. I didn't like that film too much either. It was fun because I love Star Trek, and Lock, Stock and Lock, Stock, Smoking Barrels was good. That's a brilliant movie. That's a brilliant movie.
That's great.
I thought Layer Cake was actually a better movie.
Layer Cake is awesome as well.
Matthew Vaughn.
Layer Cake is.
Layer Cake was a far better movie than Lock, Stock. Well, Layer Cake was far better than anything that Guy Ritchie.
That was because that was Matthew Vaughn, not Rick. Thingy was a producer on that.
Young Tom Hardy as well.
Daniel Craig, all this kind of
Daniel Craig.
I think that's what helped push his career was that
Michael Gambon. You know what I mean?
I thought what pushed his career was the fact that he got
Cole Meany.
What?
Cole Meany was in it.
No, that was a Guy Ritchie movie. It feels like one. Yeah.
Oh, it felt like what a Guy Ritchie movie should be.
Yeah, because Matthew Vaughn was Guy Ritchie's producer. They're best friends. They're very close. So that's why.
Well, that and Matthew Vaughn is not a fake Cockney.
Yeah, Matthew Vaughn's not a fake Cockney, unlike Rich Boy fucking thing. I want to just quickly
as well. Sienna Miller.
I just I just want to quickly on the Star Wars thing. I remember when I watched it. I got a pirated copy of the film a couple of weeks before it came out here in the UK, and I remember being so fucking angry because it was so shit that it was in central London one day and there was people queuing up to go and get autograph and to meet Darth Maul. What's the name of the actor?
Ray Parks.
Ray Parks. And it's a cunt thing on my part, but I walked past the queue because I was like, "Oh, what's this a queue for?" That hey, Ray Parks is in there, he's doing a signing. I was like, "Oh, brilliant! Oh, it's a shame Darth Maul gets hacked and sliced in two by Obi-Wan at the end of the film." And everyone looks at me like,
cunt.
"You fucking cunt!
You fucking cunt!"
Hey, I was 19 at the time, Everyone's going to do dumbass things.
Well, again, those prequels were so bad. Again, episodes 1 and 2 were so bad. I did not go and see episode 3, and I have still never watched it to this day.
You're not missing anything. It's the better of the three.
It's like
still shit.
It's like the Disney sequels. I mean, again, I watched Force Awakens. I thought, it's not bad. Last Jedi, I was so disgusted. I didn't go and see Rise of Skywalker. Still haven't watched that. I also didn't go and see Solo either, and I've still never watched that.
Well, look, Revenge of the Sith. I think people enjoy that film because by that time they got used to the formula and of what the prequels are about, and so it was more exciting. And plus, the chemistry between Obi-Wan and Anakin was a lot better. Was a lot better in that movie, especially when they were doing the rescue of Palpatine at the beginning of the film.
The best thing in Revenge of the Sith was by far Palpatine. He's the one that fucking saves that film from being a complete disaster.
Yeah, Ian McDiarmid, but I would also
were brilliant.
Ian McDiarmid and Hugh McGregor. Hugh McGregor comes second. You know what I mean?
They make that, and I did love the emotion at the end of the fight as well, but it just lacked it throughout the whole of the film. It was just a soulless CG fest and needed to be more. In terms of the sequel trilogy, I didn't watch Rise of Skywalker in the cinema.
The sequel trilogy and the prequel trilogy, I've always felt they were soulless in the sense that the lightsaber fights, they always felt just so goddamn choreographed that it just wasn't even funny. There was much more emotion in that first lightsaber duel between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan in A New Hope than there was in all of the other movies combined. And it was the same with the two lightsaber duels between Vader and Luke Skywalker. There was so much emotion and drama in that. And it looked like they were literally swinging for each other rather than just choreographed horseshit.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I did like the choreography between Maul and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. I thought it was beautiful to see, but I totally agree with you. I think that
there was no emotion in it.
No, that's it. It was just like, here's our choreography, ha ha ha, and that was it, kind of thing. Even when the stakes are high, for example, when they face Count Dooku in Episode 3, Anakin should be like out for fucking absolute brutal revenge, but it's just a quick choreography, then an arm slice and a head off. And it's just like, there should be a lot more in that. That's where we should see more of Anakin's anger coming out, because he's like, you lopped my fucking arm off, mate, and now I finally got you.
Again, Return of the Jedi, the lightsaber duel between Luke and Vader, and Vader taunts Luke about turning Princess Leia to the dark side.
That's it.
And what happens? Anger takes over, and he's just fucking swinging.
Yeah,
he's determined. He's going to kill Vader.
Fucking brilliant. But again, credit to like Mark Hamill's acting skills in that fucking film. Just incredible.
Have you guys seen this? This one for you, Shredder.
Oh God!
That's no moon. It's a space station. It's too big to be a space station. Very bad feeling about
it. It's a tractor beam. It's pulling us in.
Essentially, presence have not felt since.
He says he's found the main controls to the power beam that's holding us
here.
I want to go with
this. Lies upon a different path. Force will be
just give it a chance.
Obi-Wan.
Only 6 minutes.
I must face him alone.
Rick B. I don't smoke anymore, but I used to be a stoner hardcore.
Oh yeah, this is the reimagined Jewel.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is great. This is when he did the special editions. This is what he should have fucking added in.
Yeah.
Our long-awaited meeting has come at last. The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Only a master of evil,
Your powers are weak, old man.
You can't win, Darth. If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Then I will show you the true nature of the Force.
rage. I love it.
There she is. C-3PO, you copy? Yes, sir. Are you safe? For the moment. We're in the main hangar across from the ship.
Nice, come on.
It's them. Laughter.
Certainly has courage.
Good do it to us if he gets himself killed. Away. Come on.
Yeah.
There is no escape.
That's the bit I love.
Yeah.
Didn't we just leave this party?
I better not get fucking copyright strike.
What kept you?
We are very
Yeah, I'm
small
taking a
friends.
Is the
chance.
ship all right? Seems okay if we can get to it. Just hope the old man got the tractor beam out of commission.
I mean, so many people have reacted to this, so I think we'll be fine.
Now's our chance, go.
Yeah.
Come on, R2. We're going.
Ben?
Like the red shine from his lightsaber coming on his helmet.
You're my brother, Anakin. I love
Now you will die.
Right in the balls.
Just stand there while lasers are getting thrown.
Bomb troopers, mate, you'll be safe. Well, no. The door is shut, however, you might get through.
Run through,
I'm
run.
gonna have some kind of force ability.
Kenobi.
you were the chosen one.
Oh yeah.
Lovely jubbly.
First time you've seen
Interesting.
that.
Yeah,
Well,
that's the
that's
first time. That's the first time I'm seeing it. It certainly, again, wasn't as soulless and choreography. Again, it didn't feel like the kind of choreographed bullshit from the prequels. I'll give it that much.
Yeah.
This actually felt like it was a duel between two people. One desperately out to kill the other.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
There are people who say that that one thing that they do like about the prequels is the fact that the lightsaber duels are a lot more, what's the word, athletic and a lot more thingy than just people just twiddling swords at each other, which...
But it was just twiddling swords at each other in the prequels.
Yeah.
Well,
It
Jordan
didn't feel like an
whereas-
urgency to it. It was more like a, let's just go this step-by-step choreography.
Yeah,
But it was more
again,
spectacle.
the whole thing with the lightsabers and the Jedi, it was correct me if I'm wrong, was it not based on the whole thing with the samurai?
It was, yeah.
Yes, which is not the right stance to have when you have a lightsaber. You should be following more of the fencing style. But because George Lucas is a Kurosawa fan, he based it more on that. Even their look is more based on the samurai and that. But for the style of sword, it should be a lot more stabby than swingy. Yeah. So that was a nice one, Sam. Thanks for that. It was good to see that again.
Yeah, it's good to see that. I like if you're gonna watch New Hope, when it comes to that scene, pause it, watch that scene instead, then fast forward it after Obi-Wan dies, and you'll be all good.
And from New Hope, we go to No Hope when we had the Flash trailer drop this week.
Oh yes.
And oh god, the fan service was just disgustingly awful and just.
When you get nuts.
Yeah, who wants to get nuts? Anyone? Let's get nuts. Yeah, nuts.
Line, man, it's so stupid.
I don't mind the whole thing with Michael Keaton coming back as Thomas Wayne. I think he's perfect. He's probably the best casting choice that they've got for that.
That would be a good choice to make him Thomas Wayne.
He has
Thomas Wayne. So I think
Bruce
he's probably
Wayne.
No. In the Flash movie, he's Thomas Wayne. Michael Keaton is Thomas Wayne.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because Flash changes history.
I know that part. I know I know the original comic book.
Bruce Wayne dies in the alley, and Thomas Wayne becomes Batman.
So,
that's why he's old.
That's why Michael Keaton is in this movie, and why he looks older, because he is Thomas Wayne.
I thought it was just that universe's Batman was the Michael Keaton.
He started at a different age.
No, he's Thomas Wayne, so he starts at a much older age.
Oh, okay.
Whereas, I mean, Michael Keaton is someone who I want to see recast as Bruce Wayne if they ever do a Batman Beyond movie.
Yeah,
that's what.
Well, they were going to work on it, but they scrapped it. And then Michael Keaton was supposed to be in it, but then instead, this was a compromise, was to put him in the Flash film instead. Because they're working on it years ago.
Finding a Terry McGinnis would have been the hard thing. Who would be good? I mean, you have to find someone who's young, and I don't know any young actors.
You can fucking cast anyone for that. That's not.
Yeah, I guess. Huh? Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
But I mean, the only reason, and everyone's making it clear, the only reason they want to watch this film is because of Michael Keaton. Because the original
I would technically agree with that. Well, that and I also did enjoy the Flashpoint comic series and also the animated movie.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, Flashpoint. Yeah, I mean, Flashpoint made me appreciate the Reverse Flash, which is why he's my favorite supervillain. Because of Flashpoint. I love that. I love that character.
So it's the final film in the Snyderverse. It might be a fun film. It's not the final film in the Snyderverse. We still have Aquaman 2 to come as well.
And Blue Beetle.
And Blue Beetle, you can easily kind of put it into the Gunn universe because it's not really connected to anything else as it stands. But obviously, Aquaman still, why it's coming out after the Flash makes no fucking sense.
See, look,
there's no incentive for people to watch that film.
The second half of the one-liner from Michael Keaton. I agree with you.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, but when he said, "Look, I don't mind him going around saying I'm Batman." I mean, that's just as common as the sun rising. But you want to get some nuts, you want nuts or whatever.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
That line made me not want to watch the fucking movie when I heard that line.
Why?
You know what I mean? Like, you didn't need to put that line in the fucking film.
Why?
You know what I mean?
No, I'm asking a legit question. What's wrong with it?
Because
stupid fan service. It doesn't.
It's terrible.
Where it's delivered, it's just stupid.
The limit on fan service when it comes to Michael Keaton, the limit on fan service should have just been when he says, "I'm Batman."
That's
it. All you need.
That's all you need.
It's all you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope the Supergirl. But a lot of people are shitting on Supergirl because she's not blonde. Oh yeah. And her hair is short as well. But this is once again, Flash fucking with the timeline and stuff like that, and obviously parallel universes too. So even Supergirl could look a bit different, I guess. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it'll be interesting to see.
But Guardians of the Galaxy is already out. People are already
that comes out. That comes out the 3rd here.
Yeah, the reviews are coming in, and I haven't looked at the reviews because whatever, man. It's at 80% at the moment with Rotten Tomatoes.
That's a good sign.
It'll be a zero. It'll be 0 for Paddy.
Oh, it'll be 0 for me. I mean, the trailers alone made me want to gouge my fucking ears out and eyes out. I mean, I know I'm not going to like it, so I'm in no rush to watch it. I'll watch it when it comes out on Disney Plus.
Is James Gunn going to be like one of those directors who just isn't your kind of thing, like you just said with Brian De Palma
and Taika Waititi?
Yeah.
It's just. Yeah, I don't look. I'm sick and tired of the fucking kiddie jokes and the constant fucking jokes and just bad writing. And James Gunn falls into that category. Pre-Guardians 2 James Gunn, because Guardians 1 is awesome, is great. His stuff is fantastic. But again, ego goes out of control. Producers put too much trust in them. And when they take over even the writing aspects of it, then you just end up with the shit. And it's mentally exhausting to have 90s sitcom in your fucking films these days, where it's like every third line has to be a joke. And that's what fucks me off. And with Taika Waititi, that kind of sense of humor. But we saw like the film that he just dropped a trailer for his new film. And that looks much better, more toned down, takes itself a little bit more serious. Yeah. Okay, compared to what he did with Thor, which was he just ramped it up to 11, and it was non-stop, and there was no good story there. It took when the humor takes over the storyline, then it just you're not there to watch. You're not there. You don't give a shit about the film. You just want to do your thing. You don't care about the characters or the storyline. You want to make sure you get your punchlines in there. And that's why I end up despising these kind of directors.
Michael Fassbender had some controversy, didn't he? Which I can't remember what it was.
The controversies were, but they're not really on his part. He was accused of a lot of things by his ex, who she in this turn had a huge history of making up shit about her lovers. Because he's married to Alicia Vikander. You know, they're together. You know, the woman who played.
Because he hasn't made anything. For me, it feels like he hasn't made anything in ages. And now
he hasn't.
For the first time in my experience of watching his stuff, he's doing a comedy. You know, and I have no problem with that because I thought if you're going to be an actor, you should. You know, you talk about ticking boxes. The boxes you tick off is the different genres of movies you should do. Do sci-fi, do a period film, do a western, do action, you know, do a comedy, you know, do it all, you know, if you can. So, you know,
absolutely.
But the thing that makes that story cool is that there's already a documentary out about it.
That's right.
I think from what I saw of the trailer regarding him taking over the American Samoa football team or soccer team is that this team has never scored a goal. So it's not really about anything other than them scoring a goal. But I did notice one thing. There's a trans person in the team. So you know that's going to fucking piss off a lot of the motherfuckers out there. You know what I mean? About representation and woke and all of this sort of shit. So,
have you ever seen the original thing? The original documentary?
No.
You should watch it. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, they lost 31-0 to fucking Australia.
That's where the documentary picked it.
If they lose 31-0 to Australia, imagine what would have happened to that team if they played a decent European or Brazil or Argentina. You know, it would be maybe 60-0. Yeah, I mean, quite easily.
Want to go on some comments here. Sasha Calle as Supergirl looks awesome. I look forward to a good performance. Yeah, I mean, it looks decent enough. Sasha Calle looks hot. Absolutely, she does. Was it ego seeing the humor of up-and-coming writers like Waititi that changed Gunn's writing style? No. It's always been Gunn's kind of, Gunn just saw what made Guardians popular, and he thought, I'll ramp up the humor stuff to 11. You know, it just became the ethos of Marvel of the MCU was to do like, let's just carry on. You know, Guardians of the Galaxy was great, and it was funny and all this. So let's just make that with all our MCU films. So with Gun, it's just Gun. It's just Gun being Gun. And if you watch the Suicide Squad, oh my fucking god, the Suicide Squad. It's the second one.
Suicide Squad. Yeah,
The
second
Suicide
one. Okay.
Squad. Fuck me, did I hate that film with a passion? Like
better than the first one.
I prefer the first one. No,
really?
I prefer the first one. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
I can't have that end of the world bollocks, man. Like
okay.
the Suicide Squad was
that
never
part
about
was that part was stupid. But the Suicide Squad, just the bit where they raid the camp and they're killing these people stealthily, okay, trying to one up each other. It's just like, who the fuck? How's nobody seeing what's going on, kind of thing. It just that alone just derailed the fucking film for me. James Gunn makes fun films, and that's what DC. No, he makes annoying films.
By the way, the original Suicide Squad was directed by David Ayer. Apparently, there's a David Ayer cut of that Suicide Squad, and I would love. I'd
like to see that released.
Yeah, for sure.
I would like to see that released.
Bring out the Ayer cut.
Yeah, because he's not a bad director, but that film was like, it was shit, but it's still better than the sequel. All right. Let's see. We have speaking of Batman, funnily enough, so Amazon has landed more DC stuff. They've got a Batman feature and a TV spin-off. These are a bit more like family friendly stuff. They
family friendly Batman.
Yeah. They focus more on kind of Damian Wayne, so I won't be watching these because I don't.
Damian Wayne and his family friendly. I mean, they look the little assassin.
Wait. Damian Wayne, the child of Bruce Wayne and Talia al Ghul, who was raised by the League of Assassins, and it's going to be a family friendly movie.
Yeah, the grandson of fucking Ra's al Ghul. You know what I mean? Where fucking master assassin.
Yeah. I'll read it for you lot. So Amazon lands animated Batman feature and TV spin-off. Merry Little Batman is called, and offshoot Bat Family extend the streamer's deal with Warner Brothers Discovery after the 2-season order of Batman the Caped Crusader. The Caped Crusader is the one that's been done by Bruce Timm, and it has a bunch of like Matt Reeves is producing it, J.J. Abrams is on, and Bruce Timm. Okay. So additionally, Merry Little Batman and animated film Batman, both of which, like Cape, hail from blah blah blah. Right, Batman the animated series helped pioneer. Oh fuck's sake! Just get to the bloody thing. Where is it? Merry Little Batman Cape Crusader will no doubt continue the garbage. News comes after WBD back streamer HBO Max abandoned plans to move forward with Cape Crusader despite its impressive creative pedigree. Amazon landed the series, which also said to include a larger deal for more animated Batman fare. So it's where we are. So Merry Little Batman is described as a family action comedy that sees young Damian Wayne transforming into Little Batman in order to defend his home and Gotham from the villains.
Little Batman, he's Robin.
Yeah, he becomes Robin.
Yeah, and even the concept of him becoming Robin always bugged me because it's Damian Wayne should have been his own fucking thing. But anyway, so that's the thing. I don't think I need to go on. It's family friendly.
I'm already really concerned about it because some of the superhero stuff you're talking about Amazon here, yeah?
Yeah.
Some of the superhero stuff on Amazon is really good. The Boys, Invincible, but this could be their flop. Now,
but I mean, the track record on animation is pretty solid so far with Vox Machina as well, and other stuff that they've done. Boys, the spin-off one, and all this. So
the path I'm surprised they're not going with, and I would be very, very interested to see how they would do an animated series of it. Is following the death of Bruce Wayne, Dick Grayson taking the mantle as Batman.
I would love to see that because, he has to have played Nightwing for a little while before he takes the Batman mantle. But if we've seen him,
no. But what I'm saying is, if you do like the series building up to the death of Bruce Wayne, and then the second series, you establish Nightwing taking over.
Because I want to see all these alternative changes. I want to see Jason Todd then become the Red Hood, and
they've already done the animated movie,
which is my favorite animated movie of all time, Batman Under the Red Hood. Oh my god, fucking love it.
And obviously Tim Drake might have to play a part in it too. And if he is, I'm not sure if Tim Drake ever had an alternative persona outside of Robin. Like, he didn't, or did he?
No.
So I think maybe this is a chance.
They wrote him out as Robin. Basically,
I personally would
stopped him being Robin.
Yeah.
What I would do is if Dick Grayson becomes Batman, I would make Tim Drake the new Nightwing, and and then
no, I wouldn't see that again. That's what annoys me, though. You see, surely the logical step would be, okay, you take the mantle of Batman, but instead of being like Nightwing, you just be your own thing. That's exactly what Dick Grayson did when he became Nightwing. He broke away from being Batman's sidekick to be his own thing. Then you don't want then somebody stepping in to do the Nightwing role.
No doubt.
Else.
Dick Grayson has to step up and take up the mantle of Batman because Gotham needs a Batman.
Yeah.
Whereas, anybody could take over for what he was doing in Bloodhaven.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm just saying that, just regarding, whatever Tim Drake does, I think, instead of maybe creating this new thing, which could be anything, it would be just a lot easier just to slot him in as Nightwing. And then
it depends. If this is a Bruce Timm project, I think Bruce Timm already came up with the perfect way for ending Tim Drake's tenure as Robin, and that was in Return of the Joker.
Yeah, I love that, by the way. That's one of my favorite animated. That was the Batman Beyond one.
Yes.
And I love that. But I love the red herring they had with that one guy who you thought was the Joker and he wasn't. And it ended up being Tim Drake. It ended up being Tim Drake all along, which was brilliant.
I'm not a big fan of the death of Batman because the thing is that that terrible series that me and Paddy watched was just has put me off the idea. I'm sorry.
I totally understand. Gotham Knights is also terrible as well, isn't it? So
yeah, that's terrible. If we get another fucking Gotham Knight,
this is my argument now, Gary. You remake shit, which is shit. So that's the argument there. If it's shit, it didn't work, then you give it another shot and you remake it.
And look at what Bruce Timm was able to do with certain Batman villains. I mean, he basically took Mr. Freeze, who in previous incarnations was literally just a guy with a cold gun, and they made him one of the most compelling villains in the history of Batman.
Why is this guy's name Bruce Timm? Out of all the fucking names you could have, he has to be named after two fucking superheroes. You know what I mean? Fucking hell.
Bruce Timm's a legend, mate. You leave him alone. There's also announcement of so this is an animated film for Justice League War World, and the synopsis says, until now the Justice League has been a loose association of superpowered individuals, but when they are swept away to War World, a place of unending brutal gladiatorial combat, Batman, Superman, Woman, and the others must somehow unite to form an unbeatable resistance and able to lead the entire planet to freedom.
Look at that.
Bruce Timm's mom's name's Martha too.
I mean, are all of our mothers called Martha?
Might as well be.
Might as well be, yeah. Yeah. So the voices for that is Jensen Ackles as Batman.
I can see that.
/ Officer Wayne. Oh, okay.
Jensen Ackles.
So what, is Bruce Wayne going to be a police officer?
Looks like it, yeah. So it could be another Elsa Worlds thing. So Astana Katic as Wonder Woman. Oh, okay. Darren Criss is Superman / Agent Ken. Okay. And then a bunch of other pointless fucking names. But anyway, I'll watch it. I've watched all the Warner Brothers animated movies. Some are good. Most are great. Some are shit. Some are okay. So yeah, we'll watch that one. The last one they brought out was, what was it? Oh, it was with Supergirl, and that was pretty decent. And so we'll see what this one's gonna be like. Right, what else?
Well, I'll tell you
there?
this: when it comes to like Warner Brothers projects, I'm just looking forward to seeing the cutscenes of Suicide Squad, the video game, because that looks like a really good movie in its own right. The game looks shit, but the cutscenes look fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for that. Like even like the Injustice 1 and 2, some of the best DC film footage I've ever seen, even though it was just cutscenes from a video game. Loved it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely. When you put it together, it's like, how many hours is it? 3 hours of cutscenes?
Yeah, you can watch it on YouTube. I don't give a fuck about the game.
Great. Yeah, I've rewatched it a couple of times. And the comic books were awesome as well, the Injustice comic books.
I mean, fucking Superman, he becomes so evil, he kills fucking Shazam.
Yeah.
And you realize Shazam's a kid. You killed a kid, Superman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what made Barry the Flash switch sides, because he realized that he'd gone too far. You know, and there was no redemption for Superman after that. Killing Shazam, you can't redeem it. There's no. I mean, he might do some good things, but there's no redemption for him.
Yeah.
After that,
okay. Let's move on. James Corden gave his final show, and I can see William is absolutely devastated.
Oh yeah. I mean, well,
we won't see James Corden on screen in America anymore, and
I just hope we don't see him back on the screens over here. To quote the comedian Stuart Lee, when James Corden left to go and work in America, our loss was also America's loss.
Oh God damn! I lost Stuart Lee.
One second, like this quick little side note here. Who's getting AEW All In tickets?
Not me.
I thought you might be.
If I lived in London, I might have, but I live in Glasgow, so I'm not.
I might do, but I'm not sure. I mean, I'll check the prices. Yeah, I mean, but if they're like £80 a ticket, you know, they can fucking
the price
between 30 and 250.
You've got they are £30, £70, £100, £125, £175, $250, $400, and $1,500 for ringside.
$1,500 for ringside.
Get the fuck.
Get a fuck.
But the point is, like, you know, I went to WrestleMania, and you know, even though our seats were good, you really need to be a decent. You need to be reasonably close to really enjoy it, in my opinion. And that just means that I ain't going to spend £30. I'll be right in the fucking bleachers. Yeah, you know, it's just not. It's not worth it. You know, so yeah. I hope whatever tickets you're getting.
Oh, you are.
Rick B.
You are. Oh,
he says he's getting AEW All In tickets live from Wembley Stadium. I hope you have a good time, mate.
Enjoy it, mate. Enjoy it.
Get the most expensive tickets you can get.
55,000 and climbing.
You can't pre-register for it anymore. You cannot pre-register anymore.
Wow.
They've closed for pre-registering, at least.
Well, that's pretty impressive for still, like, I mean, AEW has only been going for like what, 3-ish years at this point.
So that means that they could potentially fucking sell out. They could
they will.
Yeah, you know,
it's possible. Yeah.
Oh my God, this is gonna.
If they sold out Wembley, bloody hell, that's gonna be.
Well, think about it. I mean, for a start, I mean, majority, you're gonna get people all over Britain who are going to come to this. People from Ireland are going to have people from Europe who are going to come to this. It's much more. It's easier to attend than it would be for European people to go to America.
Yeah.
So so it's going to be packed. Yeah, I mean, you went to WrestleMania 20. I went to WrestleMania 24 in Florida. That's why I went to that one, because it was easy to attend.
Yeah, he got the better deal. Rick B got the better deal on that one.
Yeah, Rick B definitely got a better deal. WrestleMania 20 was a good one.
Back to James Corden, right? I'm actually really neutral on it, because that station was fine. Who wrote that, or I co-wrote that, or something like that. And he's just like, you hear stories about him being a bit of a difficult person to work with.
A bit.
Yeah, well, that's really nice.
The term you're looking for is an absolute dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I think there's a YouTube there's a video on YouTube of one of the directors who directed, is it League of Their Own, or is where
yeah.
where the guy talked about the fact that James was being really difficult on that day. But it could just be that he was just having a bit of a difficult day. You got to remember that people, human beings, to go through difficult days.
I shared a lift with him, Gary. You know that. Long time ago. Oh no, I mean I just recognized him, but I didn't really I recognized him and all of that. But this was at Center Point Tower. I used to work in Center Point Tower, and he was in the same lift as me. And I thought, yeah, you're the guy from the telly. That's what I said to him.
He's fucking. I hope we don't see him again. But
I personally, I hear a lot of shit about him, but I haven't been following him because I don't really give a fuck about him. So if it's bad as you guys say it is, then fair enough. I hope we don't see him again either. But either way, I really don't give a fuck.
It's the fact that he basically tried to insert himself into absolutely everything. I mean,
he's William Shatner.
How fucking bad was it that at one point WWE even had to point out that his parents were in the crowd at Raw?
Jesus Christ. Was he even at the show?
No, he wasn't. His parents were in the crowd. But
and they had to point that out.
How did he get he mentioned that, or did he get
No, it was WWE. WWE gave a shout out to his parents in the front row of Raw.
Look, as much as I can understand you guys disliking him, I almost have to credit him that he's able to fucking pull that off. You know what I mean? That he can get somebody to say that his parents are, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but again, it's the fact that he inserts himself into every project, or he promotes every project that he's done as like the greatest thing ever when he's in nothing but absolute dog shit.
Yeah. Even
the only thing he's actually ever said that he ever said that he regretted making was Lesbian Vampire Killers,
which he wrote.
Oh
yeah,
I heard about that.
Yeah.
By the way, there's a great gay club in Astoria opposite Center Point. Yeah, I remember it got knocked down, unfortunately, so they could build a new train station.
Yeah, GAY. It was called.
Yeah, GAY. I actually worked there as a steward back in the day.
But my uncle fucking played in the Astoria with his band from Greece.
And there was a really good kebab shop called right on the corner. Dionysus.
Yeah, I know them. I know them.
God, the slices of meat were so fucking huge. Oh man.
I went to Greek school with the owner's kids, and his kids were all right. You know, they're
great kebabs.
Yeah, they were nice. Nice family. You know, nothing. The older one, Stab, was a bit leery, but other than that, it's still, you know, good people. Very good people. Lovely kebabs. They're kind of just down in Southgate now. They downgraded because they had to close the one in Tottenham Court Road.
On the corner of Tottenham Court Road and Charing Cross Road. You don't get any better than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that location. And the shop, it was always packed in there. Always packed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right next to the Tottenham Court Road station. I mean, it was prime real estate, and it's gone. It's gone. So they could extend the station. Fucking ridiculous. Yeah, that was. You've been to it too. That was a great kebab shop. Yeah, I haven't been there for like 15, 16 years. You know, like I actually, so when it came to that kebab shop, obviously it's gone now, but I have obviously driven around there, you know, and it is what it is now. You know, for me, even though the kebab shop was a shame that it went, for me, like knocking down the Astoria, that was heartbreaking because that's a historical location, you know, and
big time. Yeah, that was just fucking horrible that's gone. Just to expand on the station. Cool. All right. Let's see. Do I have? Oh, yes. In gaming news, we have two little tidbits. The Pinkertons still exist, which was shocking revelation when a guy's house was raided by a private security force, that is the Pinkertons, because a vendor, sold him Magic the Gathering cards a little earlier than he's supposed to.
I've heard about this as well.
Right.
This is so ridiculous.
Now, talk about
Can
fucking
I just say something
corporate.
before you
go
carry on? Fuck Wizard of the Coast. Right, carry on. Sorry.
And fuck Hasbro, because that's who owns Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, fuck Hasbro.
Which was I was about to say. Talk about fucking like how far do you allow corporate overreach, where they get private police force to raid your house just because you had a couple of a pack of playing cards that you obtained legally, by the way. He didn't steal them. He didn't like smuggle them in or anything like that, or that they were just sold to him by a vendor before they were meant to be released, and that was his crime, and he had his house fucking raided. And the shocking part of this, though, was that the Pinkertons still exist, which, you know, they are even mentioned in the Red Dead Redemption games. Who's off?
Yeah, I'll be shooting off.
Oh, you off?
Yeah,
all right.
yeah. I've got to go. I've got work in about 7 hours, so I'm gonna.
Okay. Shredder,
yeah,
thanks for coming. We won't be on too long anyway.
No worries.
Yeah.
But thank you for coming, mate. All the best. Take
care,
it
mate.
easy.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, because when you think of the Pinkertons, you think of like the Wild West and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Red Dead Redemption.
You think of Red Dead Redemption. Obviously, you know, even in Red Dead, they were just, you know, they're a real life thing that were put in Red Dead Redemption. But yeah, that was the most shocking part. Because, I mean, really, the most shocking part should be corporate overreach, but no, it's the fact that fucking Pinkertons still exist. But yeah, and the UK has blocked Microsoft's Activision deal over the Game Pass.
Good.
So basically, they're saying that because there is a huge future in cloud gaming, Microsoft's acquisition of Activision gives them an unfair advantage in cloud gaming. So therefore, they have blocked the deal. So it'll be interesting to see what happens from there. And this is the first time our government's done something right. And let me just quickly go to the comments. I used to go clubbing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Oh, fucking party boy here. Well, that's what happens when you're a landlord and you're siphoning off my wages. You get to just party all the time. Just kidding, babes.
Yeah.
So yeah, thoughts on that, on the deal being blocked, Sam?
I'm not sure. I don't know what to make of it. Like this game. This is a Game Pass. This is like a subscription.
Yeah.
So
Game Pass is basically like the PS4 Plus. So basically, this.
So you can play online for a month, for a year, or whatever.
Basically, lets you access.
No, you pay monthly, but you can access like a massive library of games that you download and play.
Yeah, so it's basically like PS. Yeah, because I have to do the same thing for my PS4 Plus.
Yeah, well, it depends on what PS4 Plus subscription you get, because there's different ones. There's basic, and then there's the extra one that you can. But the Game Pass is way better than the PS Plus thing. It is. You get access to it has been successful in one regard.
The government getting involved in stuff like that, I find amazing. You know, like we're talking about our government here. So,
our government blocking like large corporate
capitalism.
Deal, which I think it's a good thing. I
agree. I'm just shocked by it. That's all.
So is that true, Fats? Because Atari's got probably some decent games in their belt.
Let's have a look. What did Vance say?
Atari
just recently acquired most of their old catalogue of games. Expect to see more. I don't really give a shit about Atari. Yeah, all that.
I'll tell you this. You know, I'll tell you what news I liked more than this was the fact that the PS5 scalpers are fucked, because finally stock is finally, after 2.5, almost 3 years, stock has finally met up with demand, and all these PS5 scalpers have got an abundance of PS5s that they can't sell for huge profits anymore, because the shops have got PS5s, so people can now go to the shops and buy one instead of having to go to a scalper and probably pay double the price. And I love this. I love this so fucking much.
Also, you wouldn't bought it for. You wouldn't. They have to sell it for less in the shops in order to fleece it, because if you go to the shops, you get your warranties and all this kind of stuff. Whereas if you buy it from a scalper, you get nothing. And there's less of a risk factor. So there's complaints that they just have huge stocks of PS5s that they can't even ship. Nobody's buying from them. And that makes me so happy.
I got so lucky with my PS5. I really did, because I did a drop. I had these kids with in my cab with like disabilities, and I dropped them to Smythe's toy shop. Smith, sorry, toy shop in there was one in Staples Corner.
Yeah, I love that.
And I just asked them if they had a PS5s, and they had, and so I went back. I bought it, finished my. I told them I'll come back later for it. Did my job with the kids, stuff like that. Once I was done with them, I went back there, got my PS5, and I was so fucking happy. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I'm still waiting because I know they're going to bring out the slim version sometime this year.
Yeah, that was my only issue. That's my only issue. But I knew they were going to bring out like a second version, like a slim and all that. But are you going to buy? Are you going to buy with a CD player or without?
With always.
Okay.
Always, because I take games back once I'm done with it. Not taking back, but you
change it.
Just give them into SEX for money.
Or trade it.
I don't care that I don't get a fair trade. I've done with the game. If I'm not going to play it, I don't give a shit. I got money back for it. I've played it. I've milked it. I got something back for it.
And they're becoming good entertainment systems as well, PlayStations now. So if you subscribe to anything, you could just watch it all on your PS.
Exactly.
Yeah. So.
I'm just wait. I've done that with my first rule is I never buy consoles on release because there's usually problems or not enough games.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, I always wait because I know they're going to bring out a fucking slim version. I've done it with PS2, PS3, and PS4. I've just waited, and they've brought smaller versions out, and that's what I've ended up getting. And so with PS5, that's what I'm just waiting. I've been waiting, and I know I'm gonna get slim version, and that's when I'll get it. But
Rick B got Game Pass, and he also said he got a PS5 first day. I was second person in the UK to get a PS4. I queued up, mate. You know, like I credit you for doing that, I would never do that. I can imagine you like one of these motherfuckers, and like they have a little tent outside the shop.
Did you do the same for iPhones as well, Rick? Did you queue up for iPhones?
There's some people who just addicted to that shit, you know.
Yeah,
the latest one is like, God, they're like 500 or 600 quid just for just one of these.
Yeah, I'm not big on like that kind of aspect of consumerism. I'm happy to wait. I never get the FOMO. Like even my Nintendo Switch, what I have, I don't know how it happened, but I got it for 150 quid with a Mario Odyssey game. And it was just a fucking one of these random deals that they were doing. And I was just like, yep, I'll grab that. So I didn't get it. I waited. Didn't want to get that on day one. So, with PS5, I'm just going to wait. But in terms of Xbox, what I was talking about, so the Game Pass has been like, it's been a success for Xbox, but not a success because game sales, obviously, on Xbox aren't very high because people are just using the Game Pass. Well, duh. I don't know why they were shocked about that statistic. But secondly, because they focus so hard on the Game Pass stuff and acquiring studios, they haven't brought out a lot of first-party products on the Xbox. And what exclusives do you know of the Xbox? We've had Halo Infinite, and that's been an absolute disaster.
Gears of War.
They haven't had a Gears of War for this Xbox. It was for the previous one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but Bethesda, they bought Bethesda, which was a huge deal at the time. And what are Bethesda doing? They've got their thumbs up their asses, still working on fucking StarCraft or whatever it is. They haven't improved under Xbox. Halo went to shit with 343 Studios, and people are pining for Microsoft to buy Activision when Microsoft are not a good studio. they don't have good management in place to get these studios in line, to get their shit in order. So I don't know why people are pining. So this is why I'm personally glad that the British government stepped in and is blocking this deal from going through.
I also want to add that, because I got a decent laptop, I don't need an Xbox. My laptop
you could use your Game Pass there.
Yeah, you can use my Game Pass there, and I like, for instance, like Jose, he's got an Xbox. I got my laptop. We still managed to play with each other on Gears of War online.
Yeah,
even though we were on different systems. So that was pretty cool. As far as I'm concerned, my laptop here, that's my Xbox, and I still got my PlayStation as well. So I'm all fucking good.
And that's why Xbox sales have not been good at all. Whereas PS5, obviously now with the availability, the sales have gone through the fucking roof.
PS5 has exclusives as well. Sony has.
They have great exclusives, but people still love the PlayStation more than what Xbox is offering, and that goes to tell you everything, that the Game Pass is not been as successful as Microsoft has wanted. It hasn't brought over as many customers as they haven't. But when you don't have first-party products, no one's going to come to you. And when all your and not just that, all their exclusives are fucking first-person shooters. They're still stuck in that Xbox 360 era of first-person boring ass shooters. It's just like, where's your innovation? Where's there's nothing innovative. Intelligent people get Xbox and PlayStation. Look, you get what you like. And I had a 360 and a PS3. Right now I just have a PS4 and the Switch. I did not bother with the Xbox One. I actually
made a mistake. I made the mistake of going 360. Like, I had the PlayStation 1, 2. And then for some bizarre reason, I switched to 360 when all my mates went onto PS3. So I was disconnected for a while because I had.
Yep.
I think it was Gears of War. No, I think it was Gears of War. But I remember playing that game, the first one, with at Ray's place, and I thought this game is amazing. Like I never really experienced a cover system and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Chainsaw guns and everything. It was just like, wow. I just love this game, and then I think I got the Xbox 360 for that. But then I looked over at my PlayStation mates and how jealous I was that they got all these exclusives, for them, and not for me. So I prefer to make my own gaming systems. I can do better. Wow.
Yeah, my laptop, I've got play games.
Yes, we did. We saw that video. That was amazing. I don't know. That's working to get a game to work, but if it comes out looking like anything like it did in that promo, it should be amazing.
Oh yeah, he's talking about Unrecord, which is like the police cam looking game. Yeah, that looks absolutely gorgeous. That's Unreal 5, baby. I'm telling you, you keep an eye out for 2024, 25, especially 25 onwards, with so many indie companies now utilizing Unreal Engine 5. We're going to have the gaming renaissance is coming, and we're already seeing it, And
I really hope so. We need it. We need it.
We need AAA companies are going to get left behind. Indie games are taking a huge share of the market now, and they're coming up because people are just fed up with these AAA companies, and not just their greedy practices, but games are always fucking broken, and they're just generic garbage.
Generic, yeah.
Like, it's just, and they get so Ubisoft with all this trials and tribulation. What's going to end up with them? Assassin's Creed. That's the route they're going to go down, and because they don't want to give people what they want. They just whatever they think people want. So we're just going to get a million Assassin's Creed games.
For me, as I said, like the best game, one of the best games I've played isn't the most technically taxing games in the entire world, but I love it, which is Vampire Survivors.
Okay, I know that one. Yeah.
I mean that was made like it looks like it was like made for like 2p. Well, it was. Yeah, I mean facetious, but like it's like made for like looks like not a lot of money, and it's an amazing game. So that's the sort of game I think is going to start becoming more powerful, as you said, as Unreal 5 becomes much more able for people to code, people are going to be able to make decent games on the cheap.
Oh my God. Yeah, I really can't. I can't fucking wait, man. Next year we're gonna start seeing more and more showcases of Unreal 5 games, and I can't wait. I called it from the second they showcased, because it was the same thing that happened with Unreal 2. With Unreal Engine 2, when that came out, loads of indie companies kind of went to that, and we got some incredible fucking games. A lot of the big companies went there as well, but with Unreal 5 and just with AAA games being the way that they are, we're just going to get this beautiful indie revolution of like AAA style games that look stunning, but are run by greedy cunts. So yeah, I can't wait.
All right, guys. Well, look, I'm running on empty, and I gotta wake up soon, and I'm the only one who can end this stream. So you don't mind if we call it a day?
No,
Rick B, by the way, thank you very much for joining us. You stayed throughout the whole session, and even though we had our ups and downs, it was very much good having you here. Please subscribe to us and join us in the future. Daniel Barnes, always a pleasure. Yeah. Daniel Barnes, always a pleasure. And Gary and Sexual Chocolate, thanks very much.
All right, thank you to everyone that joined us. Yes, Rick B, thank you for joining us throughout the whole thing. We appreciate the comments a lot more. Even if we don't agree on everything, doesn't matter. A conversation is always good to have, and it helps the algorithm. And on that bombshell, we will see you all next Friday for the same shit. Bye.
Bye.